Dan IKIP waktu itu benar-benar baru saya sadari di hari-hari ini. Bahwa menjadi pintar saja tidak cukup. Karena pintar itu teknis. Menjadi orang pintar itu harus sekaligus menyenangkan. Itu pendidikan emosional. Nah, cara-cara emosionalitas yang diajarkan oleh dosen-dosen saya itu sangat menyentuh hati.
Kenapa saya memilih UNNES sebagai tempat untuk belajar? Karena UNNES adalah universitas konservasi dan salah satu universitas yang melestarikan kebudayaan Indonesia.
Layaknya manusia, UNNES terus tumbuh semakin dewasa. Peran dan kontribusinya semakin besar bagi Indonesia. Dengan belajar di sini, saya yakin akan semakin dewasa sehingga dapat berkontribusi bagi masyarakat dan bangsa, kini, esok, dan seterusnya.
Buat saya, UNNES adalah salah satu perguruan tinggi yang luar biasa, terutama mampu mengangkat kota Semarang ini di kancah dunia nasional maupun internasional. Komitmen yang luar biasa dari UNNES terutama untuk membuat kampusnya menjadi kampus konservasi dan bertaraf internasional. Kalau kita lihat di dalam kampusnya, komitmen itu benar-benar diterapkan. Begitu sejuk, begitu luar biasa penataan estetika kampus, sehingga mahasiswa pasti akan merasa betah, nyaman untuk bisa melakukan kuliah di kampus UNNES.
Arum luhuring pawetan ing astoniro. Harum dan luhurnya lembaga ini tergantung pada tangan-tangan kita semuanya. Kami memberikan layanan terbaik dalam tridharma perguruan tinggi agar dapat menghasilkan insan akademik yang cerdas dan berkarakter konservasi. Kami terus melakukan inovasi agar UNNES terus menjulang tinggi dengan semangat UNNES mendunia untuk Indonesia.
Berwawasan konservasi.
Bereputasi internasional.
Rumah ilmu pengembang peradaban.
Mendunia untuk Indonesia.
Lima 55 tahun perjalanan Universitas Negeri Semarang menjadi pilar kemajuan pendidikan Indonesia. 55 tahun mengantar talenta muda mengabdi di berbagai penjuru persada, menebar nilai konservasi, menginspirasi kemajuan negeri. Dilandasi niat mulia mencerdaskan bangsa, Universitas Negeri Semarang lahir tahun 1965. Ia bermetamorfosis menjadi rumah ilmu pengembang peradaban unggul menjadi kebanggaan Indonesia. Ia selaksa kereta, di mana niat tulus menjadi rel, dan prestasi menjadi energi penggeraknya. Itulah yang mengantarkan UNNES dewasa menemu jati dirinya siap menapaki hari baru sebagai universitas berkelas dunia. Secara kelembagaan, sejak tahun 2016, UNNES telah dikukuhkan sebagai universitas unggul terakreditasi A. Ia juga menjadi rumah ilmu yang diminati anak-anak muda, menjadi peringkat 5 perguruan tinggi paling diminati di Indonesia. kualitas akademik mengundang pengakuan masyarakat dunia dalam 10 tahun terakhir. Akselerasi jumlah prodi terakreditasi A mencapai 65%. Pada waktu yang sama, lembaga-lembaga dunia mengakui keunggulan melalui akreditasi dan sertifikasi internasional yang diperolehnya. Hasilnya, Universitas Negeri Semarang menjadi ruang nyaman bagi lahirnya cendekia muda berkelas dunia. Prestasi mahasiswa bertebaran dalam bidang akademik, inovasi, kewirausahaan, seni, dan olahraga. Laksana pohon yang terus bertumbuh, semakin rindang, semakin indah, semakin besar kebermanfaatannya. UNNES unggul untuk Indonesia maju.
Terletak di kampus utama Universitas Negeri Semarang, Fakultas Teknik merupakan fakultas kelima sepanjang berdirinya kampus Universitas Negeri Semarang sebagai rumah ilmu yang menyelenggarakan pendidikan tinggi dalam ilmu pendidikan teknik, pendidikan vokasi, dan ilmu rekayasa. Fakultas Teknik semakin meneguhkan posisinya menjadi kampus besar perguruan tinggi yang menghasilkan insan cendekia yang kreatif, kompetitif, dan inovatif, baik dalam bidang akademik maupun non-akademik, untuk kemajuan bangsa dan masyarakat dunia dengan berbagai penghargaan dan capaian prestasi dalam skala nasional maupun internasional.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang mempunyai visi menjadi fakultas yang berwawasan konservasi dan bereputasi internasional. Fakultas Teknik menyelenggarakan pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat dalam bidang pendidikan teknik, pendidikan vokasi, dan ilmu rekayasa. Kami terus berupaya dan berkomitmen menghasilkan lulusan unggul yang beriman, profesional, serta mampu bersaing dalam dunia kerja dan menjadi unggul dalam bidangnya untuk membangun bangsa dan berguna bagi semua masyarakat dunia.
Fakultas Teknik Prestatif.
Fakultas Teknik Kreatif.
Fakultas Teknik Profesional.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang.
Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang memiliki 5 jurusan yang di dalamnya terdapat 14 program studi, 9 program studi kependidikan, dan 5 program studi non-kependidikan. Jurusan Teknik Sipil memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Bangunan, Program Studi Teknik Sipil, dan Program Studi Teknik Arsitektur. Jurusan Teknik Mesin memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Mesin, Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Otomotif, dan Program Studi Teknik Mesin. Jurusan Teknik Elektro memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Elektro, Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Informatika dan Komputer, dan Program Studi Teknik Elektro. Jurusan Pendidikan Kesejahteraan Keluarga memiliki 4 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Kesejahteraan Keluarga, Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Boga, Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Busana, dan Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Kecantikan. Jurusan Teknik Kimia memiliki 1 program studi, yaitu Teknik Kimia. Masing-masing jurusan didukung dengan laboratorium belajar yang berorientasi industri sebagai sarana pengembangan kemampuan-kemampuan akademik mahasiswa untuk siap terjun dalam dunia kerja. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang memiliki 14 program studi yang sudah terakreditasi baik dan unggul. Berbagai prestasi telah ditorehkan oleh mahasiswa Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang di kancah internasional, di antaranya Finalist of Cell Eco Marathon Asia, Finalist of Same Car Competition Jerman, gelar karya Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang, the second winner of International High Early Strength Cell Consolidating Concrete Cube Competition, yaitu lomba beton tingkat internasional, gold medal dalam event kompetisi penemuan dan inovasi internasional Sahasak Nimafum di Sri Lanka. Prestasi terbaik Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang yang lain diantaranya Paper Mop terbaik Fakultas Universitas Negeri Semarang 2019, rekor muri Paper Mop virtual pertama di Indonesia. Pencapaian ini menghantarkan Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang sebagai fakultas yang memiliki kredibilitas baik dan unggul. Organisasi kemahasiswaan yang berada di Fakultas Teknik yaitu Lembaga Kemahasiswaan di tingkat fakultas dan jurusan, Badan Semi Otonom, dan Wadah Aspirasi.
Saya memiliki keterikatan emosional yang sangat intensif kepada UNNES itu. Pertama, intensitas belum emosional itu intensitas intelektual. Kuliah saya hanya di 2, tetapi intelektualitas yang disajikan IKIP waktu itu benar-benar baru saya sadari di hari-hari ini. bahwa menjadi pintar saja tidak cukup. Karena pintar itu teknis. Menjadi orang pintar itu harus sekaligus menyenangkan. Itu pendidikan emosional. Nah, cara-cara emosionalitas yang diajarkan oleh dosen-dosen saya itu sangat menyentuh hati.
Kenapa saya memilih UNNES sebagai tempat untuk belajar? Karena UNNES adalah Universitas Konservasi dan salah satu universitas yang melestarikan kebudayaan Indonesia.
Layaknya manusia, UNNES terus tumbuh semakin dewasa. Peran dan kontribusinya semakin besar bagi Indonesia. Dengan belajar di sini, saya yakin akan semakin dewasa sehingga dapat berkontribusi bagi masyarakat dan bangsa, kini, esok, dan seterusnya.
Buat saya, UNNES adalah salah satu perguruan tinggi yang luar biasa, terutama mampu mengangkat kota Semarang ini di kancah dunia nasional maupun internasional. Komitmen yang luar biasa dari UNNES terutama untuk membuat kampusnya menjadi kampus konservasi dan bertaraf internasional. Kalau kita lihat di dalam kampusnya, komitmen itu benar-benar diterapkan. Begitu sejuk, begitu luar biasa penataan estetika kampus, sehingga mahasiswa pasti akan merasa betah, nyaman untuk bisa melakukan kuliah di kampus UNNES.
Arum luhuring pawetan ing astoniro. Harum dan luhurnya lembaga ini tergantung pada tangan-tangan kita semuanya. Kami memberikan layanan terbaik dalam tridharma perguruan tinggi agar dapat menghasilkan insan akademik yang cerdas dan berkarakter konservasi. Kami terus melakukan inovasi agar UNNES terus menjulang tinggi dengan semangat UNNES mendunia untuk Indonesia.
Berwawasan konservasi.
Bereputasi internasional.
Rumah ilmu pengembang peradaban.
Mendunia untuk Indonesia.
Lima 55 tahun perjalanan Universitas Negeri Semarang menjadi pilar kemajuan pendidikan Indonesia. 55 tahun mengantar talenta muda mengabdi di berbagai penjuru persada, menebar nilai konservasi, menginspirasi kemajuan negeri. Dilandasi niat mulia mencerdaskan bangsa, Universitas Negeri Semarang lahir tahun 1965. Ia bermetamorfosis menjadi rumah ilmu pengembang peradaban unggul menjadi kebanggaan Indonesia. Ia selaksa kereta, di mana niat tulus menjadi rel, dan prestasi menjadi energi penggeraknya. Itulah yang mengantarkan UNNES dewasa menemu jati dirinya siap menapaki hari baru sebagai universitas berkelas dunia. Secara kelembagaan, sejak tahun 2016, UNNES telah dikukuhkan sebagai universitas unggul terakreditasi A. Ia juga menjadi rumah ilmu yang diminati anak-anak muda, menjadi peringkat 5 perguruan tinggi paling diminati di Indonesia. Kualitas akademik mengundang pengakuan masyarakat dunia dalam 10 tahun terakhir. Akselerasi jumlah prodi terakreditasi A mencapai 65%. Pada waktu yang sama, lembaga-lembaga dunia mengakui keunggulan melalui akreditasi dan sertifikasi internasional yang diperolehnya. Hasilnya, Universitas Negeri Semarang menjadi ruang nyaman bagi lahirnya cendekia muda berkelas dunia. Prestasi mahasiswa bertebaran dalam bidang akademik, inovasi, kewirausahaan, seni, dan olahraga. Laksana pohon yang terus bertumbuh, semakin rindang, semakin indah, semakin besar kebermanfaatannya. UNNES unggul untuk Indonesia maju.
Terletak di kampus utama Universitas Negeri Semarang, Fakultas Teknik merupakan fakultas kelima sepanjang berdirinya kampus Universitas Negeri Semarang sebagai rumah ilmu yang menyelenggarakan pendidikan tinggi dalam ilmu pendidikan teknik, pendidikan vokasi, dan ilmu rekayasa. Fakultas Teknik semakin meneguhkan posisinya menjadi kampus besar perguruan tinggi yang menghasilkan insan cendekia yang kreatif, kompetitif, dan inovatif, baik dalam bidang akademik maupun non-akademik, untuk kemajuan bangsa dan masyarakat dunia dengan berbagai penghargaan dan capaian prestasi dalam skala nasional maupun internasional.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang mempunyai visi menjadi fakultas yang berwawasan konservasi dan bereputasi internasional. Fakultas Teknik menyelenggarakan pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat dalam bidang pendidikan teknik, pendidikan vokasi, dan ilmu rekayasa. Kami terus berupaya dan berkomitmen menghasilkan lulusan unggul yang beriman, profesional, serta mampu bersaing dalam dunia kerja dan menjadi unggul dalam bidangnya untuk membangun bangsa dan berguna bagi semua masyarakat dunia.
Fakultas Teknik Prestatif.
Fakultas Teknik Kreatif.
Fakultas Teknik Profesional.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang.
Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang memiliki 5 jurusan yang di dalamnya terdapat 14 program studi, 9 program studi kependidikan, dan 5 program studi non-kependidikan. Jurusan Teknik Sipil memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Bangunan, Program Studi Teknik Sipil, dan Program Studi Teknik Arsitektur. Jurusan Teknik Mesin memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Mesin, Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Otomotif, dan Program Studi Teknik Mesin. Jurusan Teknik Elektro memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Elektro, Program Studi Pendidikan Teknik Informatika dan Komputer, dan Program Studi Teknik Elektro. Jurusan Pendidikan Kesejahteraan Keluarga memiliki 4 program studi, yaitu Program Studi Pendidikan Kesejahteraan Keluarga, Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Boga, Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Busana, dan Program Studi Pendidikan Tata Kecantikan. Jurusan Teknik Kimia memiliki 1 program studi, yaitu Teknik Kimia. Masing-masing jurusan didukung dengan laboratorium belajar yang berorientasi industri sebagai sarana pengembangan kemampuan-kemampuan akademik mahasiswa untuk siap terjun dalam dunia kerja. Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang memiliki 14 program studi yang sudah terakreditasi baik dan unggul. Berbagai prestasi telah ditorehkan oleh mahasiswa Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang di kancah internasional, di antaranya Finalist of Cell Eco Marathon Asia, Finalist of Same Car Competition Jerman, gelar karya Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang, the second winner of International High Early Strength Cell Consolidating Concrete Cube Competition, yaitu lomba beton tingkat internasional, gold medal dalam event kompetisi penemuan dan inovasi internasional Sahasakti Mafhum di Sri Lanka. Prestasi terbaik Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang yang lain diantaranya Paper Mob terbaik Fakultas Universitas Negeri Semarang 2019, rekor muri Paper Mob virtual pertama di Indonesia. Pencapaian ini menghantarkan Fakultas Teknik Universitas Negeri Semarang sebagai fakultas yang memiliki kredibilitas baik dan unggul. Organisasi kemahasiswaan yang berada di Fakultas Teknik yaitu Lembaga Kemahasiswaan di tingkat fakultas dan jurusan, Badan Semi Otonom, dan Wadah Aspirasi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our opening ceremony is about to begin. Please have seated, turn on your camera, and mute the microphone. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third Vocational Education International Conference, the Advancing of Education Technology in Industry 4.0 era. It is a great honor for me. I am Asti Dwi Afida as a Master of Ceremony to be here and welcome each and every one of you in this virtual conference. Before we proceed the program today, we would like to express our sincerely gratitude to the Excellency Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency all Vice Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency Dean of Engineering Faculty of Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency all of the Deans and the Director of Graduate Program of Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency the Head of Center of Professional Education Development, LPPP, and the Head Center of Research and Community Service, LPPM, Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency all Vice Deans and the Head of Department at Engineering Faculty of Universitas Negeri Semarang, and the distinguished keynote speakers of the conference, Professor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat from Faculty of Engineering Kasetsart University, Thailand, Professor Dr. Ting from National Yunlin University of Science and Technology, Taiwan, Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim from Faculty of Computer and Science, University Teknologi Malaysia, Dr. Supraptono from Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Negeri Semarang, Indonesia, and the honorable all invited audience and the participants of the conference. On behalf of Vocational Education International Conference Committee, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of the audience and the participants. Next, we are going to sing National Anthem Indonesia Raya and the Anthem of Universitas Negeri Semarang. For all of the participants, please stand up. audience, please be seated. Thank you. The Vocational Education International Conference is an annual event organized by Engineering Faculty, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Today, we have a very full program ahead of us. We would like to outline briefly the agenda of the conference today. Firstly, we will have opening. Second one, there will be a speech from the chair of the third Vocational Education International Conference. Then the next speech will be delivered by the Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang and also will officially open the conference. Next, we will get to the main agenda. There are presentations from 4 keynote speakers. There are Professor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat, Professor Dr. Ting, Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim, Dr. Eko Supraptono. After having a break, we will continue to the parallel session. Then the last, we will have closing. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's proceed to the first agenda. The Excellency, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let's open the conference by saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Then it is now our pleasure to invite the chairman of the third Vocational Education International Conference, Dr. Fedi Setiopribadi, to give us an opening speech. Dr. Fedi Setiopribadi, would you please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Excellency Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang, represented by Vice Rector of Academic, the Excellency of Vice Rectors of Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency Dean of Engineering Faculty, Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency all Dean in Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency the Director of Postgraduate Program, Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency the Head of Centers in Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Excellency all Vice Dean and Head of Department at Engineering Faculty, Universitas Negeri Semarang, and the distinguished keynote speakers at the conference, Professor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat from Kasetsart University, Thailand, Prof. Ting, National Yunlin University of Science and Teknologi, Taiwan, Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim from University Teknologi Malaysia, Dr. Eko Supraptono from Engineering Faculty, Universitas Negeri Semarang. On behalf of committee, allow me to introduce myself. I am Fedi Setiopribadi, the chair of third Vocational Education International Conference. I would extend the best regard to all of participants and presenters. The third Vocational Education International Conference 2021 focused on advancing of the education technology in Industry 4.0. It aims at providing a platform to researchers, practitioners, stakeholders to discuss and share the challenges and finding the field of vocational education. The third Vocational Education International Conference will have presenters and participants from all vocational institutions across Indonesia and overseas. We do hope that the third Vocational Education International Conference could run well today and provide insight for all participants and presenters. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fedi Setiopribadi. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our Rector, the Excellency Professor Dr. Fathur, to deliver speech and afterward officially open the third Vocational Education International Conference. The speech from Professor Dr. Fathur, which will be presented by Vice Rector of Academic, Professor Dr. Zainuri, MSc, AKT.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Dean Faculty of Engineering, Dean Faculty at UNNES, the Head of Research and Community Service, the Head of LP3, Director of Postgraduate Program, distinguished speakers, Professor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat from Kasetsart University, Thailand, Dr. Ting from UNNES Teknologi, Taiwan, Dr. Elin Rahim from Universitas Teknologi Malaysia, and Dr. Supraptono from Universitas Negeri Semarang. Invited speakers and all participants. On behalf of Rector Universitas Negeri Semarang, I wish to welcome you all to International Conference at Faculty of Engineering Universitas Negeri Semarang. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Allah SWT for the blessing and mercy so that we have the third Vocational Education International Conference 2021 in Engineering Faculty, Universitas Negeri Semarang. We also would like to apologize that the Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang, Professor Dr. Fathur Rokhman MBum, could not attend this occasion due to having another activities. The Rector gives his regards to you all and is ready to support and send delegates to the international conference. Ladies and gentlemen, UNNES have vision to be conservation-oriented university with international reputation and spirit to be house of knowledge with developed civilization. UNNES have a tradition achievement, among them the first Green Campus 2020, 66 international and 6 national. The second International Certification Self-Assessment Report, UNNES, Biology Program, Indonesian Language and Literature Education, Physical Education and Development Economics. The third, Scopus Publication. The fourth, ICU Rank 2020 Rank and STAS Rating. The fifth, the Best Value of Budget Work Field 2020. The sixth, WTP, Wajar Tanpa Pengecualian, the 10 years continuously, UNNES at corruption-free area campus and clean and serving bureaucratic area, integrity zone. The seventh, SNMPTN, Seleksi Nasional Masuk Perguruan Tinggi Negeri, the second rank in Indonesia, the most number of SNPTN 2021. Student acceptance reached 2,765. The fourth rank in Indonesia, the most number of SNPTN enthusiasts reached more than 40,000 applicants. The eighth Student Achievement 2020 at 33 at PIMNAS rank, and Teximinas the second rank. The ninth Milestone UNNES 2020 until 2024 to be Research University and Teaching University. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenge of technical vocational education at a global data, a vocational school at the student show positive trend. In 2018, the ratio of senior high school vocational school was 49 and 51. The main challenge currently facing VEIC in Indonesia comes down to lack of sufficient correspondence between the practical training and skill taught in VEIC institution and demands of the labor market. According to estimates in the master plan for the acceleration and expansion of economic development in Indonesia, it will need 110 million skilled workers by 2030, some additional 3.8 million per year on average for next 14 years, which is an enormous challenge for the educational and training sector. The challenge is how to government manage vocational school and shows current concern to the graduates. Based on Suharno 2020 Vocational Education in Indonesia, History, Development, Opportunities, there are 27 problems. The first, uncontrollable vocational school establishment. The second, teacher availability in number and competence. The third, the absence of several study programs in higher education. Fourth, facilities and infrastructure. The fifth, vocational learning. The sixth, cost. The seventh, principal management, and the eighth, involvement of industry. To develop UNNES, UNNES support activity in the direction of research, development, and community service. With credos of UNNES, the first, building a strong and adaptive together. The second, upholding integrity. And the third, strengthen real performance. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, the Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang gave a motto: the healthy academic atmosphere is built through academic person who has commitment in three things which are linked each other and mutually reinforcing, namely togetherness, integrity, and real work. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you get pleasant experience during this conference. And officially, Rector International Conference is open. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Matur nuwun. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Renuri.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Zainuri, MSc Academy. To our
You're welcome.
guest, you may proceed
Okay.
to your next agenda. We appreciate your participation in the third Vocational Education International Conference. Kami persilakan kepada Bapak dan Ibu tamu undangan dapat berkenan untuk melanjutkan agenda atau kegiatan. Kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas kehadiran dan partisipasi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the main agenda of this conference. There will be 4 presentations from our keynote speakers. The first session, I would like to invite our keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Ting and Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim. The moderator of this session is Dr. Doni Hidayat Aljanan. Without further ado, to moderator, please move forward.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, speaker, participant, and audience of VEIC 2021. I am Doni Hidayat as moderator for first session of keynote speaker panel for this conference. We are just waiting for the connection with Prof. Ting right now. And for this session, I will manage this session to become these 3 stages. The first is speech from first keynote speakers, and second is speech from second keynote speaker, and third and the last is Q&A. Each session will be about 20 minutes. For Q&A, the audience can be propose the question with 2 methods. The first is check raise hand in Zoom chat. Then I will give you the chance for the delivered question directly. And number 2 is write down your question in chat with your identification name or an speaker name. You ask, I will read your question. So, ladies and gentlemen, these 2 special honor speakers come from the same educational background and research. It is they come from the human computer interaction. So we know that nowadays human and computer cannot be split easily. It is because almost every time and everywhere human need computer from they wake up to bedtime. So we call it cell phone. So maybe from this session we can explore more this problem or this phenomena. But that's what the effect of computer of human being. Or maybe we can say that a cell phone can create self to the human life. Maybe it's at least 2 this question will be answered in this section. So because right now Prof. Ting haven't get the link in Zoom right now. I'll try to contact her. So we change the first speaker to become Dr. Elin Eliana. Yes, because right now it's ready. She is already, and I will read the background of Dr. Elin Eliana. So she is the name is Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim. She is a senior lecturer in Faculty of Computer and Mechanical Science of Universitas Teknologi Mara, UTM Campus Malacca. She received her PhD in Information System, research in Human-Computer Interaction from Lincoln University, New Zealand, and PIT host Data Communication from Multimedia University, MMU, Malaysia. Her PhD research is about evaluation of virtual reality application for chemical engineering students. Since then, she has been doing research in human-computer interaction and learning and education technology, and he has published several papers in this area. She was also appointed as visiting lecturer in UNNES also from September 2018. And right now, She will present about cognitive theory of multimedia learning. I think that's enough for me to introduce her. So, Dr. Elin, Eliana, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni, for the kind introduction. I'm going to share my slides. Okay, can you see my slides now?
Okay.
Okay.
Right, okay. Thank you again, Dr. Doni, for the kind introduction, and thank you, UNNES, for inviting me as one of the keynote speakers for Vocational Education International Conference. Okay, so the topic I'm going to talk today is about online learning content, what to include. I'm not going to talk about the platform or the technological approach that you could use in order for us, the educators, to deliver the lectures, but I'm going to talk about how the content of the lectures should be delivered to the students so that the student could actually gain lots of information from the content. All right? Okay, so to do that, first, let's go through the outline of my talk today. So I'm going to go through the content of the online lectures, what should be included, and how the content should be designed so that it could be received by the students efficiently. Next, once we are done with discussing on the content of the online lecture, I'm going to move on understanding the students' learning style. Remember, as an educator, we are preparing the lecture slides for the students. Therefore, it is very important for us to know the students' learning style so that the lecture could be designed and delivered according to the students' learning style. Next, remember that we are conducting the online learning lectures during the COVID-19 pandemic. So therefore, we need to understand the online learning issues that that is happening nowadays during the COVID-19, so that the lectures could be conducted so that it could cater to these issues. And last is the summary of my talk. Okay, now let's begin with the first one, the online learning content. Okay. When we talk about delivering lectures to students or delivering information to the learners, we need to remember that the learners learn better when information is being presented in a form of words and pictures rather than words alone. Meaning that if you are trying to explain certain things to the learners, it is best to present it in a form of combination of words and pictures rather than words alone. Why? Because the learners will gain more information when these information are presented in both forms. Now let's go to the first example. Now, if let's say, as a lecturer, I'm trying to explain to the students regarding virtual reality. Okay, if I were to put the explanation or the definition of virtual reality in a form of written words, just like what you could see in my screen, okay, the students might have difficulty to basically understand or to grab the information related to virtual reality. This screen only contains words. It says that virtual reality provides an interactive, three-dimensional environment where users can manipulate and explore the environment. By reading these statements, students or learners might face difficulties to understand or might face difficulties to basically grasp what a virtual reality is. But if I include images of VR, just like this, it will basically assist the learners to learn better. By reading the written words here and by looking at the pictures, the learners should be able to grab more information regarding virtual reality. So this is an example of how learning could be designed so that it could assist learners to understand better. You could actually include images and words in the same screen. Now, having said this, that raises a question of, does adding more images and words increase students' understanding? Which means if you add more images and more words, does it actually improve students' learning? Before we could answer that question, let's go through the theory of multimedia learning. So this is the framework of cognitive theory of multimedia learning, which could assist us, the educators, in designing our lecture content. This theory basically states that information is being presented in the form of words and pictures. Okay, words could either be in the form of written text, just like what you have seen in my screen at the moment, and words could also be in the form of spoken text, audio, etc. Whereas pictures could be either be in the form of animated text, and pictures could also be in the form of static images, charts, etc. So when these two presentations are being presented to a learner, the learners will actually grab this information through their sensory memories, either through ears for spoken text, okay, spoken words, or either through eyes for words, okay, written words as pictures. Okay, when their sensors could capture this information are being passed to the working memory. So the brain will actually process it by selecting the words and selecting the images, process it, organizing it, so that it will form the verbal model as well as the pictorial model. So this is like doing or writing or designing your mind map once you have attended a lecture. Normally when we want to do some revision, we basically draw a mind map. So this is what happens in your brain. You will have a pictorial model of what you have learned. And then once you have the verbal model and the pictorial model, what happens is your brain will actually go and grab the prior knowledge related to the existing knowledge that you are learning and combine it and integrate it so it becomes a new knowledge. So that is how the brain works. Okay, so this cognitive theory is developed based on 3 assumptions, in which the first one is dual channel assumption, in which our brain would basically receive information from 2 channels, the verbal as well as the visual channel, where the verbal will receive the words, things being presented in spoken words, and the visual channel will receive information from images as well as written words. And then the next assumption is limited capacity assumption, which is a very important assumption, as it states that these 2 channels have limited capabilities, which means that these 2 channels can only process certain information at one time. Having said that, remember the question we raised earlier, in which we asked if we add more images and more text, does it actually assist students in terms of their understanding? Okay, remember that these 2 channels, they have limited capabilities. So if you're adding more images and more text to your slides or to your lecture content, it does not actually improve students' learning. What happened is these 2 channels couldn't accept it. These 2 channels will be overloaded with information, and in the end, students going to actually grab the information. So therefore, when you are designing your lecture slides, make sure that it is not being overloaded with images, text, etc. Make sure that you put appropriate amount of images and text. And the last assumption is active learning, in which the learners will actually select the words and images and integrate it and produce new knowledge when integrating it with the prior knowledge. Okay, now let's go through the second point again, because I'm talking about designing the lecture content. Okay, you need to remember that students have limited capabilities, or students or learners have limited capabilities when receiving the information. Meaning that we could not put lots of words and lots of images in one lecture content. Why? Because these 2 channels will be clogged and students or the learners would not be able to grab and process the information. Okay, having said that, there is a question of how should we design our lecture slides so that it could be received by the students efficiently. To understand that, we need to focus on the multimedia presentation here. These are the presentation or the information being delivered to the learners so that the learners will actually receive the information and process it. In terms of multimedia presentation, there's a principle called Principle of Multimedia Learning, which consists of several principles. There are lots of principles related to this. However, I only choose 4 principles, which are a quite common one. Okay, and these principles could be used by us, the educators, to assist us in designing our lecture content. Okay, so there are 4 principles. These 4 principles are spatial contiguity principle, temporal contiguity principle, modality principle, and redundancy principle. So the first principle basically states that learners learn better when the text is placed near the corresponding pictures instead of far from each other. Text is referring to written words. Okay, an example of this would be, okay, you have the text and you have the images. So learners learn better when the text here is being placed or is being presented near the corresponding pictures. So this is the text explaining the images here. So it would actually assist the learners to learn better when it is being placed near to each other rather than being far from each other. Okay, this principle also adhere to the second principle, which is temporal contiguity principle, which stated that learners learn better when words and pictures are presented simultaneously instead of sequentially. Okay, if we have words explaining the images here, when these words and pictures are being presented simultaneously, meaning that they are presented on the same screen, it will actually assist the students to learn better, compared to if you are presenting them in a separate slides. Now, let's say you would like to discuss about virtuality, or you would like to explain about virtuality to the students or to the learners. What you did was you present the picture of virtuality in one slide and the explanation in another slide. What happened is, when you're presenting these two sequentially, the students or the learners are unable to grab the information immediately. They're having difficulty to process the information because these two information is not being connected. So make sure that you present text and words which are interrelated in the same single slide. Last is redundancy principle. Okay, it says that learners learn better from animation. Okay, this is an animated images and narration, spoken words, instead of animation, narration, and on-screen text. Okay, you might be wondering, okay, why is it students or learners are not getting better understanding when you're putting more information in the slide? You have animation, you have audio, and you have written text. Okay, what happened is, when you presented these three items on a single slide, okay, the visual channel of the learners will be overloaded, as animation, okay, and on-screen text are presented in visual-based format. Remember, we have two channels, visual and audio channels. So when you have two forms of visual format here, the animated images as well as the written text, it will cause the channel to be blocked. Okay, once the channel is overloaded, the learners wouldn't be able to capture the information efficiently. So make sure that you remove this and present it with animated images as well as audio, spoken text. Okay, now that we have learned about the principles that would assist us to design our lecture slides, next what we need to do is we need to basically understand who are our target audience for these lecture slides. In this case, the students. Okay, remember, we are not designing the slides, or we are not designing our lecture content for our own use, but we are designing it for the target audience, for the in this case, our students. Okay, the students, as you can see, they come from different background with different characteristics, and these characteristics contribute to different kind of learning styles. You might have some students who are very prone towards learning through images. You might have students who are basically verbal learners. So before you conduct your lectures, or before you prepare your lectures, what you need to do is you need to understand their learning style. And then to understand their learning style, let's go to the next subtopic, which is students' learning style. Okay, to understand the learning style, one of the popular model is Fathur-Silverman learning style model, which basically states that a human would be either an active or reflective learner. They could either be visual or verbal learner. Okay, basically a human will fall under these four continuum. Either they are active or reflective, visual or verbal, sensing or intuitive, or sequential or global learners. Okay, sensing or intuitive, okay, refers to basically how a person would prefer to perceive the information that is being presented to them. Whereas visual and verbal learners basically refer to how a person would prefer information to be presented. Active and reflective refer to how a person prefer to process the information. And sequential and global learners refer to how a person prefer to organize and progress towards understanding the information. Okay, since the talk for today would be focusing on designing the content of the lectures, I'm just going to focus on the second part, the visual and verbal learners, how the information should be presented. Now, let's say you have students who falls in the category of visual learners, okay, those who actually perceive the information better when they learn towards using images, or verbal learners, those who basically get more information out of words, whether it's a written or spoken words, okay. So if you have students that fall under category of visual learners, therefore the slides, when you're presenting lectures, the slide need to contain more information in the form of images, charts, video, animated images, static images, etc. Use more images and visual as compared to text. When you have students who are prone towards verbal learners, then your slides may contain more words. You may also conduct a group discussion session after the class so that the students could actually discuss with their teammates. When the student is discussing with their teammates, they could actually listen to the discussion being conducted by the teammates, and they could actually grab more information based on the spoken words. And then you might be asking, what if you have a student with a combination of both? Meaning that one student might have two preferences. They are partly visual and they are partly verbal learners, Or you might have a group of students where half of them are visual learners and half of them are verbal learners. If you have this kind of group of students, what you could do is you may give them flexibility in terms of learning. Perhaps what you could do is, once you have conducted the lectures and you give them an assignment or tutorial questions, you give them flexibility in terms of performing the task. Meaning that when they are submitting the task, they could either present it in a video form, they could either present it in a report form, they could either present it in any form that they wish to do, okay, as long as they submit the assignments. So by giving them flexibility to do the assignment according to their preferences, that will actually assist them in learning better. Okay. Now the next question that you might ask is, how am I supposed to know if the student is a visual or verbal learner? To know that, what you could do is you may ask the student, okay, at the beginning of the class or at the beginning of the semester, you may ask the student to complete the index of learning style, ILS. So this is an online survey instrument used to assess preferences on 4 dimensions, which I've stated earlier: the active reflective, sensing intuitive, verbal, visual, and sequential and global. This is based on the Fathur-Silverman learning style model, and the questionnaire is available here. If you click on this link, you'll be directed to that questionnaire. And these are some of the questions which I've extracted from the questionnaire. So once the student has answered the questions, the student will be shown this graph. Okay, this is actually my own result for index of learning style. As you can see, I am prone towards the visual learners, so that's why you could see my slide consists of lots of images rather than words. Okay, so the students will actually get this graph, which basically will show the category of learners they are. All right, and some explanation of the result. So by doing this at the beginning of semester, you are able to tackle the type of the learners that you have in your class. So by knowing the type of learners that you have in your class, it will actually assist you in designing your lecture plan. Either you want to prepare your slides in the form of images or words, whether you want to conduct a tutorial more in the form of images or words, etc. So this would be very helpful for you to conduct your lesson. For us educators to conduct our lesson. Okay, now that we have understood about designing the lectures content, and we also have learned about the students' learning style, we need to remember that now the students, they are not learning at the university. We are now in the COVID-19 pandemic, so the students are actually learning at the comfort of their own home. Okay, and having said that, when they are learning at the comfort of their own home, you need to understand there are several issues from online learning in the middle of COVID-19. That basically leads me to the next subtopic, which is online learning issues during COVID-19. As you can see, when the universities and schools are being shut down suddenly last year, okay, when the COVID-19 occurs, most of us are not ready to handle this online learning. The students and educators, we are familiar with online learning, but conducting online learning totally for university, meaning that we conduct online learning for classes, for tests, for exams, are something new. Okay, so therefore one of the issues are technological readiness, and we have 6 issues in total. And one of the issues is technological readiness, technological knowledge or literacy, facilities, financial, emotional, and domestic situation. So these 6 categories of issues are being extracted from existing literatures that have been produced since COVID-19 pandemic occurs. And these issues are not issues that occur in Malaysia only, but these are issues occurred all over the world. Technological readiness refers to the readiness of the students as well as the educators with technological devices. Some students, they are not well, they don't have a computer, they don't have smartphones, they don't have devices that allow them to actually sit in for their online learning classes. Some of them are sharing the devices with their sisters, in which their sisters need to use their devices for school as well. So some of them are not prepared with these technological devices. Next is technological knowledge or literacy. Although some of the students, they basically have this equipment, these devices, some of them are not well used or not well versed with Google Meet, Zoom, etc. Because we are not used to have online meetings, so it causes some difficulties for them to attend the online class. Next is facilities. Okay, some places, okay, they are not being well equipped with good internet connection. So therefore, you might read, okay, in the news, some of the students, they are having internet connection problems, so they have to actually go further away to find for internet connection, etc. Next is financial. Okay, as we know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, many companies are being shut down and people are losing their job. So people, most of the people, they are not having stable income and some of them are not having any income at all, so they have to use their savings. And these savings, when they're spending their savings, these savings are being spent towards important items such as food, etc. Therefore, buying internet data or buying devices are considered as least important. So therefore, some of the students, they are unable to cope with online learning due to this issue. Next is emotional issue. Okay, some of the students, they have the fear of attending online lectures because they are fear of not getting the similar experience as what they could get if they're attending physical lectures. Okay, they are afraid that they might not have access to their lectures. They are afraid they might not have the same access to the library or to any other facilities being provided by the university, just like how they would actually access it when they are in the university physically. So these are the some emotional factors that actually contribute to the online learning. Okay, last is domestic situation. Some of the students, they are, as we know, they are conducting, they are attending the online lectures at the comfort of their home. Okay, when they are at the home, some of them are having issues or problems when they are sharing rooms with their sister or siblings, for example. So they don't have the comfort of conducting their online learning at their own pace. Some of them, they have to actually assist their parents or their family with the family matters, with the house chores, etc. So these are some problems being identified in existing literatures which are related to domestic situation. Alright, so all these 6 issues are the issues from online learning that occurs, especially during the COVID-19, when it occurs sometimes last year. Right? So as an educator, when we are conducting lectures or when we are delivering lectures to our students, we need to consider these issues and these factors and make sure that we are not, we conduct lectures in a flexible manner so the students with these issues could actually gain lots of knowledge from our lecture. Okay, that basically ends the 3 subtopics here. Now let's go to the summary of this talk. Okay. Now that we learn about designing content, okay, for lectures so that the students can actually gain the information in an efficient way, we also learn about use variety of presentation to cater for students with different learning styles. So we need to make sure that the content of our lectures are designed so that it could cater for different learning styles of students that we have in our class. And we also need to make sure that we are providing flexibility to the students to perform their tutorial work or to basically attend our lectures so that these students could actually get much information or these students are able to learn according to their preferred learning styles. And we need to also be more flexible in delivering the lectures to ensure that students with online learning issues could actually gain information from our lectures. If we are conducting live lectures, make sure that these lectures are being recorded so that students who are unable to attend our lectures on a real-time basis could actually view the video later. Okay, so the keyword is to be more flexible in delivering our lectures and to have more empathy with the students, as we know that online learning is not something, online learning is not similar to the physical learning, so we might have students with some issues during online learning. Okay, I guess that's the end of our talk for today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, or you can drop me an email at elin9730@untm.edu.my. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elin, for your interesting presentation. And this very interesting. I'm interesting about your presentation. But right now, we get a line from Prof. Ting. Right now, it's become the second presenter. I will introduce about her for the first. Sorry, because she got a bad weather in Taiwan, so have a rather delay time. So she become the second speakers. Her name is Professor Ting Wu. She is currently a director and associate professor in graduate school in technology and vocational education at UNTech or Yunlin University of Science and Technology, Taiwan. And she reached her PhD degree in information engineering from Department of Engineering, Science and Technology, Chengkung. And right now she has been working on the area of learning portfolio analysis, mobile and ubiquitous learning, information technology assistant instructor, and implementation and development in intelligent learning system for many years. She has 42 international journal paper, SCI, and more than 100 conference paper. 2 of her journal paper were selected in ICI and Higher States paper. So she also get the best reviewer award from the Taiwan Educational Ministry. And I think this is very good and very higher researchers in Taiwan. And right now we have opportunity to listen or to get some share from her. Right now she will present about application and analysis of a mobile ebook system based on project-based learning in community health nursing process courses. And right now, Prof. Ting Bu, the floor is yours. You can open the
Yeah, everybody can see my sliders now?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm really glad to have this opportunity to join this conference and become the speaker. About the topic I will present today is about apply and analyze the mobile ebooks system based on the project-based learning in community health and learning practice course. Because my job is about vocational education, and why I choose this topic is my mother is a nursing, and he tell me they have some problem when he training the nursing students. So I think maybe we can invite technology into can improve their skills. So that's why I want to do this kind of research. I think the chair already introduced a little bit, and so I just introduce my research fields. My research field is about mobile and UX learning and information technology, applied instruction, and intelligent learning systems. So you can see I'm pretty good at about introducing innovative technology in traditional learning environment and try to help students to improve their skills and try to enhance their learning effectiveness. So this is the outline I will present today. About the introduction, I will briefly introduce the background and motivation and what is my objects to do this research. So the second is I will briefly to describe the PBL, project-based learning. They have 5 phrases. How can we use these 5 phrases introduced in the traditional learning environment and change the learning ways? And I will give a little bit result about our statistic analysis, and I will give a conclusion. About the introduction, we can see learning, nursing theory and practice are initial of learning practice. So we think the students not only learn the theory, their skill before they become the professional nursing. So about the nursing press course, in Taiwan, we think nursing press course is regarded as a capstone of learning education because learning students, they can learn what they learn in the classroom and they will try to practice in the real world, so they can try to reduce the potential that they will commit earlier career area where they become the former practice. For now, we know there are a lot of innovative of learning technology. This kind of technology already change or become more diverse. So they totally change our, maybe the student can get more information from the different ways. And also, if the application of portable technologies in nursing and practice course, the nursing students can reduce the areas and nursing students increase their professional knowledge and skills. Especially for high interactive ebook systems, we think ebook system which include a lot of text, voice, video, and other multimedia material, which can facilitate to develop a social relation among learners and enhance their interest, especially when they are doing some boring course in a learning process. Moreover, we think if related with some appropriate teaching strategies, guidance, or planning, ebook will become a good tools for which learners can achieve their learning objects. For now, we gather a lot of literatures, and those studies show that introduce of the ebooks can increase learning effectiveness among the learning students. So the nursing students can quickly gather some information from ebooks and avoid the some of inconvenienced trouble when they meet in the traditional environment ways. And also, ebooks can improve the students' motivation and help the student can operation together to discussion and solve the problems. So which may stimulate the student problem solving and creativity thinking ability. What is our motivation? The first is we find a lot of study reason I want to do this in the regional healthy institutions. Another reason is ebook always discussed and used for the data research and retrieval function. Actually, we think ebook can do the many ways, not only for researching or for the retrieval function. So we think ebooks potential used for integration of technology, technical theory, and hope to solve this problem and try to combine with some learning strategies and help students can have a good learning. Also means we
I think the signal is not good enough because we would apologize for the technical difficulty during the presentation of Prof. Ting Wu, because right now Taiwan has experienced surf storm, which causes unstable internet connection. So we should to maybe hopefully she can join with us again. Maybe we need the time for her connection. But okay, because until right now he hasn't connect. Okay, because he's her now is has heavy raining and symptom.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Oh,
The connection
sorry.
is not I'm worried about it. Okay, Prof. Right now, okay, you can continue. Hopefully, it's not have a technical problem again. Okay, you can continue right now.
To keep going. So in this study, we try to introduce the PBLO activity, improve the learning effectiveness, and improve their learning motivation, cognitive load. So this is the interface we used for the community health nursing practice course. So each group need to make this ebook based on what kind of client they assign.
Prof. Wu, maybe you can turn off your camera. Maybe it's more clear. Maybe if you turn off your camera.
Cannot. So about the people.
Yeah. It's because the signal problem right now. We want to have Prof. Ting Wu to share her presentation, and hopefully she can join with us. Okay, Prof. Wu, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you can just saying next or something, right? We will help you because it is maybe, and also you can turn your camera. Maybe it's more sufficient right now.
Yeah. So maybe I will go into the first phrase preparation. The next slider.
Next.
The next. Yeah. The next one. Next. Yeah, so about the preparation, in this part, the nursing teacher need to introduce the content, object, and plan when the student join the community healthy nursing practice course. After the learning student need to group in the groups, so the head nurse of the regional healthy institution will assign the topic regarding the individual and community healthy introduction. After they gather the topic, each group need to discuss. They need to search the information and arrange the labor division and try to set the schedule for their design of the e-books. So they will serve as the basis for individual and community healthy educations. So please next. Yeah. So about the implementation phase, what kind of things the nursing student need to do? In this part, nursing student need to use the e-book system to create their own healthy education material based on what kind of topic they assigned. So I think they can use a lot of functions such as draw and match, scratch off, and multiple choice or media player to design their ebook systems. Next. The next. Yeah. So each group try to use our system to draw to make their own ebooks. So I think it's very interesting because the nursing students need to discuss together and try to share their information. After they finish that, they need to explain or education their client. How about the nursing teacher, what they need to do? I think in this phrase, nursing teacher need to assist the student to conducting the relation activities and guide the student to prepare their contents. And also, the teacher will observe and assess the teacher what kind of activity they did and is work or is not work. The next one. Thank you. So about the presentation phrase, it means each group, when they finish to design their e-books, they need to use their material to teach this client they assigned. I think that Dominic presentation not only attract the attention of clients, but also deeply their comprehension of information. So I think it's really good to improve the healthy care service at the basic level. The next, please. Moreover, we can know when the student they cooperative learning for making the healthy education material, it is good because they can try to boost students' confidence and they discuss together. They can know which kind of concept they lost and what kind of information they need more construct, more systematic. So about the nursing teachers, in this phrase, the nursing teacher will evaluate the student's ability especially for their knowledge and their expressed themselves overall. And they try to help the student develop the skills, especially in problem solving, communication, and management. The next, thank you. So about the evaluation phase, I think in the project-based learning, we want to assess the learning effectiveness. I think it's very important. Another goal is we want to evaluate the whole learning process, especially about the problem solving and the interaction about the students. So in our research, the evaluation we will gather from 3 parts. One is self-reported. It means the student, they will peer review or peer evaluation. So this part is 25%. Another is a internship institution, because they assign the clock, they will review everything, and they will talk with the nursing students, it's okay or not. So I think they know the professional skills. So they will become the 25%. Another is the nursing teacher, because they join this kind of course, whole activities, they monitor the students, they try to guide the students. So that's why we give the nursing teacher is 15% about they can assign students. The next one. So I think the last phrase is reflection. The student will reflect themselves about the whole activities, not only in the individual or community healthy education. Based on their experience, students will consider what kind of things they lost or what kind of mistake they made, and they will try to reflection and become more professional when they become the former nursing. A nursing teacher will assist the student to improve their department and try to obtain a better result and increase their understanding. The next one. This is the totally photo. It's about experiment procedures. You can see the left-hand side is kind of individual healthy education. So you can see the nursing students, they use our ebook to introduce some healthy education material to the client. And the right-hand side is about community healthy education. So you can see a lot of client here, and nursing students try to introduce what things they must to take care, and what kind of exercise can help these old elder persons get more healthy. So I think it's really good. And I'm very surprised in Taiwan, we have a lot of female and male nursing students. It's really good for our countries. Next. So about the result, I will introduce the learning effectiveness, motivation, and we want to know if we introduce the ebooks, it will increase the cognitive load or not. Next. So about the learning effectiveness, like I said, we gather the score from 3 parts. One is peer evaluation. Another is nursing teacher. The third part is the nursing in the regional healthy institution. Next one. So in the table, we can see about these 3 parts. The statistic analysis have a significant difference between the country group and experience group. And we further look at the means. You can see the experience group, their means, the average score is more higher than the country group. It means we introduce the e-book system can help the experienced group students, their learning effective is more improved because they need to in a group and try to discuss and gather the information and make their own ebooks materials, and they need to explain to the client. So the whole process try to improve the students to enhance their skills and let their thought more structured or systematic. So it is good for the students. The next sliders. And we also find a very interesting part about the internship institution evaluation. They give the student the lowest score. But about the peer evaluation, the student usually give themselves the highest scores. So you can see the difference between each assessment. So we think if we want to students do the peer evaluation, maybe this kind of score is not enough. So maybe we need to other part of things to help us to do the evaluation. The next. So about the learning motivation, this is a Congo Alpha. We can see all the data is bigger than 0.7. So we think it's reliable. The next. So about the statistic, we still can show even they have a significant difference between the control group. Control group, they use the traditional learning ways. Experience group, we introduce the ebooks. So you still can see experience group, the students, they use the ebook. They feel they have more intervention in the learning process. They think this kind of ebook system can help them to management a lot of things. When they go out for planning some material to the client, they don't need to bring a lot of paper. They just put everything in the ebooks. So they only carry the tablet to go out, and they can do a lot of things. When they explain for the client, they use the multimedia material. So the client, they can totally understand and very interesting what our students, they explain. So they think it's very interesting. That's why their motivation is more higher. The next. So about cognitive load, we can see in this table still have significant difference. So we will know, wow, the experience group, their mental load and mental effort is more higher than control group. Why? We want to know this kind of situation. So next sliders. So after we interviewed, we know because the nursing student in the experience group, they need to make a new ebook, and then they need to organize everything by themselves and put a lot of things. So they think they need to make more effort, make a wonderful ebook system. After that, they need to try to explain for the client. So they think, oh, it's a tough work for them. Even though they can learn a lot, they still feel it's a heavy job for them. So that's why the cognitive load is higher than the traditional ways. Next. So about the conclusion, in this research, we try to introduce the ebook system combined with authentic learning and project-based learning to help the practice course can reduce the cost, time, and private concern associated with traditional paper math. I think in this kind of rich domain content in the ebooks, we can catch attention about the client, and also we improve the communication between the nursing students and the client. So we think it is a good way for our coast and also for our countries. They can improve the healthy care service at the grassroots level. Next. So we think this precision feedback regarding their work also both them a sense of self-satisfied. And if the student, they feel their self-satisfaction increase, their motivation also increase too. When the students, their learning motivation increase, also their learning effective, pretty sure can increase a lot. No matter the learning effective, we can find their self-efficiency, post-emotion, or some communication skill also improve a lot. So we think this kind of research is very success, can help the learning students and the client, they can more understand the basic healthy materials. Next. This is the end of my presentation. I'm so sorry for the unstable connection, but I tried to explain quickly. And thank you very much. If you have questions, you can ask me or email to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Ting Wu. Thank you very much, Prof. Ting Wu, for your presentation, for the interesting presentation. And right now is Q&A session. And I already get some question for the polls of presenter. For the first is for Dr. Elin. It is this question is from Mr. Anand from UNNES.
Okay.
And VR is quite interesting as a listening tool because of the number of advantages that you mentioned earlier. As no learning tool is completely perfect, there are a number of issues that I have known that VR causes motion sickness, such as dizziness, vomiting, and other discomfort. How is your experience in implementing VR in real practice? It is true that this issue is that bad, and any suggestion for you to make a VR comfortable? That's the first question for Dr. Elin, and this is a question for Prof. Ting from Mr. Virji from UNNES. It is that good enough for if the learning process of nurses use only virtual using ebook without teaching directly, maybe in class or something, or maybe your experiment is about the look like the blending educational, maybe blended education, like with the blend. For the first is using the ebook for the material. After that, for the practice, use the teacher directly or something like that. But if the material is only conducted by the ebook, is enough or for the nurses or not? It is come from Mr. Virji. Okay, Dr. Elin, your turn right now.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni. Okay, so the question is regarding VR being a tool which is very useful for students to learn. However, some students might have motion sickness, okay, when using VR. So what would be the best way to use VR as part of the learning materials, if I get the questions correctly? Okay, so we need to know that VR basically it varies from being non-immersion to very immersion. Non-immersion would be something like your Google Street View. That is an example of VR, a desktop VR. It is still a VR application, but it is in a form of non-immersion form. If you're talking about VR, where you use Google Glasses, where you use the VR, HMD, etc., that would be VR in a form of immersion VR. So therefore, if you're talking about students having motion sickness when using VR, then you could actually reduce, instead of using a very immersive VR, you could actually use a non-immersive VR to cater for the students. Okay, no doubt that VR, we have massive of literature, heaps of literatures that talks about the benefits of using VR in education. However, we need to remember there's no one fixed rule or one fixed learning material that would fit all students. So therefore, if students are having difficulties or motion sickness when using VR, perhaps if you still want to use VR, then you might want to consider using a non-immersive VR. And if, let's say, VR wouldn't be an appropriate tool for the students to learn due to their motion sickness, perhaps instead of using VR, you might want to use another method, for example, videos, etc. Okay, so the idea of teaching, okay, using online learning tools to teach students, the idea is to ensure that students will get lots of information from the materials that we are delivering to them. If the tools or if the approach that we are using could not suit the students' way of learning, perhaps we might want to lower down a bit in terms of, for example, in terms of VR, you might use non-immersive VR instead of immersive VR, or you might use another approach to assist students with their learning. Okay, I hope I am answering the questions, or is there any further question from that?
Okay, Mr. Anand, do you have a feedback for it? Maybe? Okay, right now, maybe to wait the feedback maybe from Mr. Anand, sure. We come to Prof. Wu. Right now, that's your turn.
Okay, about your questions. Actually, before those students join the practice course, they have the traditional course in the classroom. But in the classroom, the teacher still use the e-books and try to training they met the e-books. Especially they have a project at the end of the semester. So each student, they need to make their own e-books. And after that, they need to do the presentation. So after the first semester, the next semester, they need to do the practice course. So I think every student already have this kind of ability. So they just use the e-books and try to match their material, and they bring this kind of material to the client at home and try to introduce them. So I think we cannot only use the e-books. We need to try to put some learning strategy inside and guide the students how to make the e-books. And we have the guideline step by step to teach the students how to do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Wu. And this is the second question for Dr. Elin from Mr. Virji again. How do you adapt your instruction material based on various learning style in your students? Do you prioritize based on the learning style that most students have, or you adapt the instruction material equality? That's the first question. And this is second question for Prof. Wu. This comes from Mrs. Cecilia. I have some e-book. We can download fairly from internet right now. I got from web. Can I share them to my student? Sometimes I'm afraid to share them to students because it's against the law. Can you give me some advice about it? Maybe it is legal or not, and how to maybe you can give some advice to make a book or something like that in what you do in what you did in Taiwan. Okay, right now is Dr. Elin turn.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni, and thank you, Pak Virgi, for the question. Okay, so normally for my class, what I would do is, or what I did was, I would prepare the lecture notes, just the normal lecture notes, and I will prepare the video lecture as well. Okay, that would be the same material be given to all students. So it basically consists of images, text, spoken words, etc. However, the flexibility that I'm implementing for my students will be in the form of them performing the assignments. Normally, after one lecture, I will basically break them into groups and ask them to work in groups by giving them questions and ask them to discuss and present it. So what I did was I used Jamboard, okay, and asked them to present the questions, the tutorial questions I've given to them, and they could actually present it in any form that they want. So from there, I could see some of the students, they are very keen to use images, okay, to present, to come up with their slides presentation. Some of them are very keen to use words, And some of them, if I give longer time for them to perform the task, some of them are very keen to come up with videos, and some of them are just very keen to come up with normal presentation, just presenting using spoken words. So in terms of flexibility, I would say, or in terms of catering the needs of my students, I will give them the same materials, okay, which consists of videos, lecture notes, etc. Videos means I have lecture videos, okay, and I have also lecture slides in which they could scribble according to their preferences. But the flexibility that I focus more is on the task being given to the students, based on my experience, and I would think that tasks being given to the student would be the process where they would actually grab the information being delivered to them, process it, and deliver it again to ensure or to measure the level of understanding. So that is where the flexibility comes in. Okay, I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elin. And right now is Prof. Fathur.
Yeah, so about these questions, sometimes in Taiwan, we usually use some materials we gathered from the website. I think in Taiwan it's legal because we only use this material when we teach the student, and we need to show where we get that information. So we will show some reference. So we will try, if we want to share the student, we must to tell the students this kind of material we gathered from the website. You cannot share to others, or when you put on your website or your own systems, maybe you still need to cite it where the material you gathered from. So I think in Taiwan it's legal, but I think not the Indonesia is illegal or not. So maybe I think the chair can share your experience for me. I think it's very interesting because we have a different cultural experience. Thank you.
Okay, because right now is the ebook is you can get ebook from the internet is very easy right now. So this is the good issue right now. So we come to the other question. It is for your both for the Prof. Wu and also Prof. Dr. Elin. Regarding the industry, this comes from Mr. Fedi. Regarding the industry 5.2.0, is that any enrichment in curricula vocation education in Taiwan or Malaysia? About the because right now is we come to industry 5.0 era, and maybe some curricula in Malaysia or in Taiwan has could be enrichment to make more suitable in this area. What do you think about it? From Dr. Elin first.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni, for the question. Okay, if you're talking about the coming industrial 5.0, okay, definitely there will be changes in the curriculum. There are changes in the curriculum in schools as well as universities, because what we are learning, okay, for example, the things that I'm learning at the moment, the things I'm learning during school is not the same as the things the kids are learning nowadays, because we want to ensure they are capable to actually catch, or they are capable to grab the existing technology so that they could actually meet the requirement of the technology nowadays. So definitely there is some changes. There are some changes in terms of the curriculum. And also in universities, for example, we do a curriculum review after a few years to ensure that the curriculum will actually meet the existing needs of the industry, etc. So to answer that question, yes, there are changes in terms of curriculum.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elin. And right now from Dr. Wu.
Okay, I just share my experience in Taiwan. In Taiwan, when the student, there are vocational high school students. I think in vocational high school student, we try to introduce and training their basic knowledge. So I think all the teachers, they change their course or their plan following what kind of innovative knowledge now. So I think in our high school students, they need to pass a lot of tests and get a lot of certification before they join the college. So when they are college students, I think in our course plan, we try to introduce a lot of teachers from many industrial and company, because we think they have a lot of experience. They can know how to open a company, they can know what kind of the innovative technology, and they can know the world trend. So I think for the college student, they will give the higher level knowledge to practice our students before they leave our college. They can have their own skills, and they can have a lot of knowledge, can do their own business. So this is my answer.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the question for Dr. Elin. Number 2 is that any effect for using icon or symbol in educational process with communication style? For example, people feeling more confident using his cell phone, otherwise direct communication, because maybe the cell phone has no emotion right now. So what the effect of the using educational for using this icon? This is come from Mr. Anand, and this is for Dr. Wu. Number 2 is how to bridging or to connecting the practical experiment for nursing to measuring connecting with patient the client, because it is influencing the emotion. But the ebook, I think, is not enough to deliver the emotion of patient. So it is come from Mr. Febri. Okay, it is right now your turn, Dr. Elin.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni. Okay, if I get the question right, so the question was, is there any difference between using online learning in terms of communication than between online learning and direct communication, meaning that face-to-face communication is okay. All right, it really depends on the students. Okay, if the students are somebody, or if the student is someone who are very much used, to do things physically, meaning that they would actually read an online physical textbook, they're very much used to attending physical lectures, etc., then using online communication as a medium, to teach the student might be a problem for them. Okay, if the students are very much used to online things, for example, they learn, they basically read the books online, they read the slides, they never printed out their lecture slides, etc., they do everything online, that wouldn't be a problem. So I couldn't come up with one conclusion that say, okay, online learning is better than physical learning, because it is very much dependent on the students. We also might have students who are not used with online learning because they're much used with physical learning. However, as time goes by, they could actually adapt with this. So sooner or later, they might be very well versed with online learning, and that can actually improve their learning as well.
Okay, thank you. So it is we should to control the using media or communication in using in cell phone right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right now is Professor Wu turn.
Yes, about the questions. About the patient, I think it's very difficult to measure, but sometimes we usually use the questionnaire to measure the student motivation or satisfaction. I think for now, because all the students, they carried the ebooks, so the ebooks have camera on our systems, so we can detect their face change, so we can know the student, they are happy, angry, get mad. So sometimes we will analyze the whole learning process, what kind of behavior they have. So we can use some machine learning or deep learning and big data, because we collect a lot of learning behavior. So we can try to analyze what kind of behavior and what kind of emotion they have. We can know maybe they already have a lot of patience on their learning process. So I think it's another way to measure the students. Thank you.
Okay, because for to connect the patient or the client is include the emotion or something like that, because we the nurses should we care about the patient It is the part of the medicine, I think, to care with emotion with the patient. That's next is a question for you both. It is come from Ms. Tuti. Could you share about the educational process during the pandemic in Taiwan and Malaysia? Is that any online process? And what do you think? Do you think that it is efficiency to, or it is effective to make courses in practical? How about to deliver the material in practical? It is enough using online, and what do you think about it? And the first the question I will repeat again. Could you share the educational process during pandemic? That now is pandemic in Taiwan and Malaysia. That any online process in the country, and do you think it is effective for practical in lecture? Yes, this is Dr. Elin first.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni, for the question. Okay, in Malaysia, for university students, it is still closed in terms of meaning that they are not allowed to come to university. Lessons are still being conducted online. However, for courses that requires physical interaction, for example, engineering students, art and design students, or those that requires lab, these students are allowed to go back to campus and perform their lab tasks. Okay, so meaning that we are conducting the lessons online. However, opportunities are given to students that need practical lessons, so they are allowed to go back to campus and do their work in the lab. Okay, this also applies to students who have not, students who do not have facilities, okay, to conduct their online lesson at home, and that they might have difficulties with internet connection, etc. So these students are allowed to go back to campus and attend their online classes from the campus. Okay, so to answer that question, yes, Malaysia, we are still having online learning for university students. However, courses that requires practical lessons, these students are allowed to go back to campus and conduct their lessons from the physical class and labs. Thank you.
How about the procedure in Taiwan when the student back to campus? It is maybe some requirement or something like that in Malaysia, maybe. In Malaysia. For Dr. Elin.
When the students come back to campus, they have to adhere to the strict SOP. So meaning that when they first come back to campus, they need to be quarantined first, and then once they are quarantined, and then they are allowed to basically attend. They are allowed to basically stay at the college to attend the online lectures from the college, etc. So we have a very strict SOP. They need to adhere in order for them to stay at the college and use the facilities in the lab, etc.
Okay, it's rather hard to find this process, of course. So right now is Prof. Wu turn in Taiwan. How about in Taiwan?
Actually, in Taiwan, we use the distance learning for a long time. We not use the learning management system. We also use MOOCs. So we have a lot of e-learning system. So sometimes in the normal course, we still use this kind of system to teach our students, especially for some students that have the job, they cannot come to the campus. So I think it's very normal in Taiwan. So after COVID-19, in our campus, we require every teacher must have this kind of skill, can teach the students even though we cannot go out. But I think for now, every student can come into the classroom and face-to-face give or teach. So we don't think it's a big problem for now, especially for the practice course. I think when the COVID-19, the student just stay at home, the teacher will provide some stimulation computer or a stimulation tool. So students, they can still training or practice at home, but they just change the way they use the computer to training their skills. So I think it is good for the students, especially for the practice course. I think it's useful to help the student can practice at home.
Okay, right. But it is, I think, it's not can be used if we need a more industrial tool, maybe the big tool, because it is impossible they have in their home, of course.
Yeah.
And this is the final question, I think, because right now is, yes, this is the final question for you both. Do you think that the traditional or physical teacher or educational process will be replaced by artificial learning? And is the human always, right now, is the human always need a physical school? Because right now we become the AE or artificial intelligence become growing up very fastly, and some people is worried about it, especially for the teacher, traditional teacher. How about us? Is there our student always need us to teach him or to teach her? Because right now they can get the material from internet, from the software or something. How about us? And right now, for I have experiment about my children when I ask them, who is your teacher regarding this area, the pandemic area. When I ask them, who is your teacher? My teacher is Mr. Google and Mrs. YouTube. It's very radical. So what do you think about it? Because some teacher is very worried about the character of student and something, because right now if we make online educational online right now, we cannot control the character of student, because sometimes they just leave the meeting and just saying, oh sorry sir, because the connection is not good, so I have to leave. And we don't know what to control about it. Okay, what do you think, Dr. Elin, for the first?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doni. Okay, to replace a teacher, a real teacher with an artificial teacher, Mr. Google or Mrs. YouTube. Okay, to me, okay, if the student would like to gain content, learning content from Google and YouTube, yes, feel free to do so. However, if you want to replace a teacher, that is something that couldn't be done, because a human, if you want to learn via Google or YouTube, you are lacking of emotions. Students have, lecturers have emotions, and students have emotions. As what I've presented just now, one of the issues during COVID-19 pandemic is the emotional of the students. Students are having difficulties in terms of learning because they are afraid whether they could either get the actual experience as how they could get if they were in a physical environment. So these emotions, okay, in terms of students' emotion, this could only be catered by a real human, real teacher. Okay, so in terms of content, yes, I agree that students can actually learn that or get the content from YouTube or Google. However, in terms of emotions, in terms of supports, motivational supports, etc., this could only be obtained from the human. And also, if you're talking about replacing, okay, the physical learning with online learning, okay, this is similar to my PhD study that we back in 2013. Okay, and remember we used a virtual reality application to replicate. Okay, this is for chemical engineering students, where they have to attend a physical field trip at the chemical plant. So we replicate the plant, okay? We replicate the plant, and we develop a virtual reality application which allows the student to actually use and explore the plant. In fact, they could explore more than what they could explore in a physical plant. They could explore every single section at that plant which are not open during the field trip. They could explore the piping, instrumentation, diagram, etc. But when we ask the students, could this virtual reality application could be used to replace the physical field trip? The answer is no, because the sense, the presence sense are not there. The social interactions are not there. Basically, they are lacking of lots of physical interaction that they could do in a physical plant. So the answer is you could not replace a human, okay, with an artificial teacher. Thank you.
Okay, so I should say that don't worry for the teacher. You always needed by the other human. because human need a human, not only the machine. Okay, how about you, Prof. Wu?
Yeah, I think the computer is recordings. It's not really touch your mind. But in my course, I will teach the student YouTuber and Google, you can get a lot of information, but sometimes some information is not incorrect. It is incorrect. So they need to training how to know which concept or knowledge is good. So in my course, I try to use this Google or YouTuber is kind of tool. We training the student. The website is kind of learning tool that can help you to get more information. But the correct way or the more high order thinking knowledge, we will teach by our teachers. So we can try to organize, monitor, and give the student warrant. So I think teacher cannot reply by the technology because we still give our heart to the student, we take care of our students, and we try to guide them for the right way. So even though the internet can give a lot of information to the student, I think the teacher is most important things because they like the highlight for the students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Wu, Dr. Elin. I think this is a very, very high discussion, and I think the participation is already get some information, good information from you both, and I want to say thank you very much for your join with us in this seminar, and hopefully maybe we can continue to connect each other with some research, or because UNNES is in educational university, and we also has many chance to get some connection with the other university in abroad university. And I will to close this session. I just chat from the Kung Fu Panda because it's a very favorite film in my life. Yesterday is memory, and tomorrow is mystery, and today is gift, and that's why we call present. Thank you very much for your attention, and sorry which I prepared to not too good in our moderator. And hope we can join again and we can meet together in the real seminar sometimes, maybe if the pandemic is over right now. Thank you very much, Prof. Wu and Dr. Elin. And right now I want to applause to you both. Thank you very much. And right now
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Maybe Dr. Elin has a closing statement because before we close, you have a closing statement maybe for you both from Dr. Elin first.
Okay, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Doni as a moderator, and thank you, UNNES, again. Thank you for inviting me as one of the keynote speakers, and thank you, Prof. Ting, okay, for very wonderful talk, and thank you to all attendees for your questions and for your precious time of attending this talk. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elin. And right now, from Prof. Wu.
Thank you, everyone. I think it's a good opportunity for me. I learned a lot, and I hope the next time we can face to discussion and give a wonderful speech. I also can invite all participants to come to Taiwan and have also the international conference. Thank you very much.
I have been in Taiwan for 3 years.
Wow, so you must come back again, okay?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. See you.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Yay.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. For the second session, I would like to invite our keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat and Dr. Eko Supraptono. I would also invite Dr. Adi Kusulmasuti as the moderator. Without further ado, to moderator, please move forward.
Good morning. Should I get started or should I wait until 10:30?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
I will continue the second session of this VEIC conference.
Link and Match is a policy of the Ministry of Education and Culture developed to increase the relevance of vocational high school to the needs of the world of work. The Link and Match program being intensified by the Ministry of Education and Culture does not only give benefit to the world of education, which make it easier to adjust to industry. On the other hand, beneficial is got by the industry by getting a reliable workforce as well as expenses saving for recruiting new human resources due to the suitability of their needs. In the implementation of the independent campus policy, there are some programs can be implemented by universities, including industrial internship, village project, school teaching, student exchange, entrepreneurship, research, independent project, and humanitarian projects. The previous industrial internship, which were only 45 days, were not sufficient to provide industrial experience and competence for students. The disadvantages were also experienced by the companies because this very short time period even disrupting activities in the industry. The current policy of internship program of 1 to 2 semesters could provide sufficient experience for students in the form of direct learning in the workplace. It becomes experiential learning for them. During the internship, students will get hard skills, for example, technical skills, complex problem solving, and analytical skills, as well as soft skills. This experience is expected to produce more resilient students in entering the world of work. This session, we will have two impressive keynote speakers. After the two speeches, we will have Q&A session. Please kindly write your question in the chat room. Prof. Phusavat will deliver his speech on industrial internship-based program for professional and personal development of university students. Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat is the professor at Department of Industrial Engineering, Kasetsart University, Bangkok, Thailand. He is currently a visiting professor at Department of Industrial and Management, Oulu University in Finland. Dr. Phusavat earned his master and doctoral degrees from Department of Industrial and System Engineering, Virginia Tech, USA. Dr. Phusavat attended Texas Tech University for his undergraduate study in industrial engineering after completing his high school education in Bakersfield, California, USA. Currently, Dr. Phusavat is serving Thailand's Board of Trade in two capacities: the chairman of Education and Skills Committee of Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce in Thailand and a member in Thai Chamber of Commerce Education Committee. Since 2006, Dr. Phusavat has played a prominent role in international collaboration and partnership in education between Thailand and Finland. Dr. Phusavat has just been awarded the 9th Grand Cordon Special Class from the Order of the White Elephant for his career as civil servant in Thailand's public sector. Prof. Phusavat already joined us in this Zoom meeting room from very early morning in Oulu. Please welcome Professor Kongkiti Phusavat.
Thank you very much, Professor Adi, for the kind introductions. And I would like to make a 20-minute speech and to highlight the importance of the work-integrated learning and training programs. Okay. First of all, you can hear me well, right? Do I have to speak up more, or my voice is okay? It can be heard in Semarang.
Very clear.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And my presentation would like to focus on the importance of learning. I think the most important thing is, do we know the students? Do we really understand our students, and are we really preparing our students? Because work-integrated training and learning program require us to change how we prepare the students, and we need to have a better understanding, and I think this is what my presentation is all about. For the outline of my presentations, we need to recognize that there are the learning diversity in the classroom, just like we have learning diversity in the workplace. Okay. Normally, there's not much differences between workplace and the classroom and university, or even the school, because like workplace harassment, we also have school, bullying. So I think there are similarity between the two, and I think we can learn among a few settings. So learning diversities, we need to recognize the future skills, and we need to look at the students and prepare them to be what we call the learning workers. No longer we focus on just complete the work, but we also need to learn during the work at the same time. We need to understand and recognize the learning process and challenges in vocational education, especially how we look at the term knowledge and the skills. Is that, because the knowledge at this moment is not the end in itself, but it's a learning that should be something that we try to strive and prepare the student for, because the knowledge can be obsolete quite easily. I'm sure that when we learn from the universities, just like when I graduated from Virginia Tech, my advisor told me that the knowledge you learn will help you for 5 years. The rest of them you need to learn by yourself and try to accumulate and strengthen the knowledge that you already acquire. And I think this is a very important part. Just like learning organization, knowledge is an asset, but it can be obsolete unless you keep on learning. So we need to recognize the roles of experiences and current and future industrial partnership. For this slide, you can see the learning diversity On the left-hand side, you can see that we pretty much have to look at the students or even people in the workplace in 3 different groups, based on learning interest, based on learning and motivation. One is the active learners, represent about 10% of the universities, school, or workplace. There's people who like to be engaged, they're very motivated, they want to learn more, and they perceive that learning is part of work. Just like, I look at myself, I'm learning, like make presentation from home or from the workplace. I'm learning to deal with different countries, it's part of my job, it's part of work. We also have 60% of students who are passive learner. Passive learner means, we like to listen, and then you have to tell us what to do. Okay. So for active learners, we like to listen. We also like to do more than what we listen, and then we try to improve on ourselves. So passive learner is a little bit more passive, more reactive, and I like to listen. I like to be told what to do, but to initiate anything, I'm not very good at it. And then we have a block learner, those who refuse to learn. Interestingly, if you look on the right-hand side, there's a survey in the US. You can see the decline in the knowledge we need to do the work. Okay. In other words, you can train students, you can train, prepare them with all the education, but they only use about 10%. So the rest of them is, we need to prepare them to learn so that they can accumulate their own knowledge. The mistake that we often have is, we like to give everything to students, and then they can use it, but eventually the types of work and the jobs in the future is getting less and less. They need to learn, and then I think this is a very important part. And you can see, nowadays we talk about learning workers, and in 2030, then active learning is going to become the key skills that you need in the workplace. Okay, it's no longer about technical, but it's about how we prepare students how to learn so that they can prepare themselves by their own. Okay, if you look with the problem with the learning today, we have school disengagement. Students feel disengaged. Students feel like they're not being engaged, just like in the workplace. And you can see the impact. Okay, when employees are not engaged, then the impact is not about quality of work, productivity, but it has a financial impact. And normally when you have disengaged or non-engaged workers, sometimes they disrupt even the work of engaged worker. And this is something that all the companies are concerned. When, I'm working with the Chamber of Commerce, I think the company is concerned most is that technical skill we can train. But something else, then please prepare students for us, because it's difficult. And this is something that I would like to highlight, for the rest of my presentations. You can see the disruptions in behavior. I think this is something similar in the workplace. Once we don't engage with students, okay, we don't provide feedback to students. And again, when I talk about feedback, it's not about the grade. Okay, grade is about evaluation. Feedback is the fact that you want to share with the student. You want to try to find a way to motivate the students. Once they feel they're disengaged, in the workplace or at the school, the behavior tends to become more negative. Eventually, it will become very disruptive. And I think this is a problem that even university, we are not really prepared to deal with this, just like the workplace. Okay, and to assume that the students are eager to learn, I think this is some flaw and some mistake into these assumptions. And we need to really prepare ourselves, how to deal with the passive and blocked students or passive and blocked learners at universities, just like in the workplace. And you begin to see, the behavior that become more and more disruptive, and eventually it will not only become productive in themselves, among the learners, but also the workplace. And this is what we need to look at. If we really don't pay attention, to the diversity of, in the classrooms or in the universities, It's difficult to prepare the career for them. Industrial partnership is difficult to accomplish because, again, the companies can train students on technical parts. For vocational education, especially work-integrated training and learning programs, the university is not going to be able to keep up with the technical skill because companies invest all the time. As a public university, it's difficult to keep up with our investment. It's difficult to keep up with all the technologies, because the procurement process in the public sector, you can see it can be very long. And that's why we have to look for the niche. We have to look for the, something that we can do to make sure the industrial partnership, the career development of the students, that they can achieve. And for me, then the issues that Dr. Adi discussed earlier about the soft skills, the importance of soft skills, the importance of, how the student can learn by themselves. This is something that we need to prepare them for. If you look more closely, in the future, in 2030, I think in the United States, in Western Europe, I'm sure in Asia as well, we recognize the importance of higher cognitive skills, social emotional skills, and technological skills. And for me, technological skill is not about using YouTube or Twitter or the social medias, but it's an understanding of digital literacy, safe internet. I think this is very important. And that's why when I give up my email, especially for work, I don't use my Gmail or Yahoo because that is not proper things to do. This is the types of the issues that we need to prepare the students. And I think, we can see the trend, the clear trend, that in the future is more or less about higher cognitive skills, social emotional skills, and technological skills. At the same time, if you look at the survey after surveys, in the US or in Europe or in Asia, okay, but I don't have time to show all. You can see people feel like there's something wrong with higher education. Okay, ability to learn, ability to adapt by, the graduate become less and less. Okay, I think one of the reasons is that we value the knowledge as an asset, and we want to build that knowledge as an asset, but we also don't realize that the knowledge that students have at workplace, it obsolete very, very quickly. Knowledge can be depreciated. Okay, I mean, and we have to recognize that knowledge, just like any asset that we have, can be depreciated. Except knowledge can be depreciated quickly. Okay. I'm teaching industrial engineering, and the knowledge we are teaching students during COVID is already obsolete. We talk about lean operations, being efficient. Okay. This is what caused a shortage in the hospital today, because everything is about lean. Okay, we're not prepared for uncertainty. We're not prepared for the event like COVID. Okay. In other words, what we are teaching the students is already obsolete because they cannot apply, because it's a different mindset. And that's why the student need to be able to learn and adapt. And this is something that we normally don't try to teach the students. And I think this is a mistake that the companies try to point out to us as a higher education institute. And again, this is what the higher cognitive skills mean: creativity, innovations, they can learn, okay? And social emotional skills, they also can learn through observation, and you will see 70, 20, and 10 models that you need to have social emotional skills in order to learn and to provide a feedback, what types of feedback people need. And this is the future of work. You can see on the work-based learning, especially in higher educations. Normally, this is a survey on the right-hand side by in European unions. I think people normally recognize the importance of vocational education and training. They recognize the importance of, work-integrated training programs. Okay, they realize the importance of preparing the student to work, but it's not only to work for the next few months, but to work, for a long time. And I think we need to look at, what work-based learning is all about. One is engagement. Okay, I think there are a few components, but I would like to highlight like engagement, because we have to make sure that we engage with students. Engage with students doesn't mean that we just provide them with a study plan, provide them with a grade. Engagement means continuously engage. How students feel, how the workplace and the student interact. And this is something that normally a vocational program, especially in Thailand, we are lacking. We are lacking the soft skill among the instructors to engage with the students. Okay, because we are good at transferring the technical skills, teaching technical skills, but our roles have changed, and I think we need to look at ourselves that are we engaging the student in the right way, okay, and otherwise it's bit difficult for the student to be a great contributor and human capital to the company, and I think this is what the wish of the work integrated training and learning programs are about. But make sure the engagement cannot be overlooked. We can look at employability, we can look at so many things, but engagement is a very critical component. And this is the component that have been singled out in all the surveys that we have to do better, especially between us and the student and between us and the company. You can see the importance of learning all around the world. You know, people focus on learning, especially in Southeast Asia. Learning is a very critical part, and this is a future description of the workers. Okay, this is the 7 principle of future employees, and you know we need to shift from knowledge worker to learning workers. So people who work have to perceive work not only as performing, completing the task, but also to learn during the work as well. This is a point that I really want to highlight in my presentation. But how do students, how should students learn? Okay, for me, the advantage of a work integrated training and learning program is student practice by doing. Okay, so students have a chance to practice what they learn. They have a chance to interact with companies. They have a chance to interact with supervisors, and they also have a chance to interact with us. And you know, nowadays a lot of work integrated training and learning program in Thailand, they try to ask the student to come back and teach others, teach the incoming students. And I think this is an excellent way that we can train the students. We can make sure the student really learn a lot, because learning by listening, learning by reading is not going to do student much good anymore. And I think this is something that the university needs to have. We have a social labor markets. We understand that. We have educational support, but we also need to have to conduct a lot of research, especially pedagogical development of the work integrated training and learning program. I'm not going to go into the details about the passive and active learners. I think this is a term that we are aware of. We cannot assume that everybody is active, and we have to recognize the diversity, and we have to deal with it. We have to recognize that 90% of students today are classified as a passive and block learner. 60% are passive, and 30% are block learner. Okay. We have to challenge the mindset, and then we have to recognize, the learning process of the students. So I think this is one of the approach that we can use. Normally, the student have to do something and then have the result. Okay, completions. We provide normally the feedback, because we have to evaluate the students. But we never challenge the assumption of the student, why they are doing what they're doing. For example, in Thailand, okay, I'm not sure about Indonesia. In Thailand, a lot of students, especially in the vocational education, students are not from wealthy family. So as a lot of the assumption of students that if I was born as a poor student, then why should I study hard? Because I will remain poor in my career. When I, when I come from the not so good background, okay, why should I work hard? Okay. And I think this is something that we can provide a feedback to students. Hey, look, this program, work integrated training and learning program, and change that assumptions. Because if you train, you work, and you learn, okay, you can succeed. And I think this is a feedback that we have to provide to the students all the time. It's not about the grade, but you also need to look at the second loop. Okay, why we do what we do. Okay. Many students in Thailand, because they're poor and they don't see the opportunity, maybe because of the limited exposures. And I think it is very important for us at the university that we need to convince students, we need to show to students that no matter how poor you're born, you can be successful, you can succeed in your career. Because otherwise, using the grade to motivate and to help students learn will not be sufficient. This is what we learned from Thailand, that we have to provide the different types of feedback to the second loop, which is why we do what we do. If we don't change that assumption, it's difficult to promote learning and to prepare students to learn in the work integrated training and learning program. The second model I wanted to share with you is 70, 20, and 10 models. In other words, how people learn. Okay, 70% you learn by actually going through the actual experience, learning by doing. 20% you learn because you work with others. You have feedback, you have network, you work with others. And then 10% you learn in the classroom. You have to take the advantage of work integrated training and learning program that you have here in UNNES. And you have to look at what can we do to strengthen 70% of learning. That's where the knowledge comes from. Actual experiences, what else? Maybe we can allow the student to come and teach others. What about 20%? Feedback. What about we have student provide a feedback to each other through the informal network? We have to take advantage of the 90%, of the proportion that the student can learn. Because don't forget that 10% of learning come from formal classroom teaching and learning, and it will not be enough. So we have to really look for the opportunities to make the 70% and 20% better for students. And for me, this is a challenge. How we can design the pedagogical practices to strengthen the 70% and 20%, which is on the job and near the job, but not off the job training. And lastly, because I'm getting close to my time limit, we have to change the role. We got to be the motivator. Okay, university has to be able to motivate students. We have to provide positive feedback, constructive feedback, not evaluations. We also need to understand the company's needs, especially in the future. Learning worker is what company needs. In Thailand or around the world, we've been conducting a lot of research, and the company no longer look at the worker to work, but they look at the worker or the employees that not only work, but they can learn, because otherwise it's difficult for the company to remain adaptive. We need to provide safe learning environment, because this is a foundation for learning. And then we have to promote active learning. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to succeed in this program. And then lastly, again, if you want to create human capital, the human learning is very important. And how students learn, education, experience, and exposures, and safe learning environment. And for the exposures, the 20% part of 70, 20, and 10 model can help you a lot, especially feedback, peer-to-peer learning, peer learning community, and so on. And you can see that in the future, there's going to be a lot of labor shortage. In Thailand, we have experienced many shortages. So the workers not only have to work, but they also have to learn. And I think the companies are looking for the types of the future workforce. So having said that, I would like to wrap up my presentations and turn over to Dr. Adi to conduct the conference forward. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your very valuable presentation. We'll go to the next speaker. Only after that we will go back to the Q&A session. Okay, the next speaker will present the synchronization of industrial internship program based on independent learning curriculum. Dr. Eko Supraptono is a lecturer in Department of Electrical Engineering, Universitas Negeri Semarang. He already served the university since 1987. He finished his undergraduate and master degrees in IKIP Bandung. His doctoral degree was taken in UNNES. His research and publication are focused on the learning development and vocational education. He is an active presenter and trainer of professional teacher development. Please welcome Dr. Eko Supraptono.
Okay, thank you, Bu Adi. Thank you very much. I would like to share my slide. Okay. Moment, Bu Ade.
Ya Pak, sudah terlihat jelas.
Ya, okay. You can see ya. Thank you Bu Ade. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we can meet here by Zoom, discussion about the vocational education. It is my honor to speak in the Special Forum Vocational Education International Conference from Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Negeri Semarang. At first, I would like to regard to my Dean, Dr. Nur Kudus, who gave me opportunity to speak in the very special forum. My props to our guest speaker, Dr. Ting, Dr. Elin, my best friend from UATM, Professor Kongkiti, my senior colleague in every time we meet. Yeah. Today I want to present my topic. It is depend on my research. The last time I have research on the industrial internship, and today I want to present this my finding research. Okay, let's go to my slide. The title is Synchronization of Industrial Internship Program Vocational Higher Education based on the independent learning curriculum. You know, our president speak in Universitas of Indonesia. He speaks that I hope higher education becomes a pillar for our national ecosystem in the response to the revolution industry 4.0. I believe higher education is the most perfect organization as an innovation reference. It is the most responsive to the development of science and technology, and it is a flexible organization as well. Okay. Our research backgrounds. Number one, that the background number one is what is there are many questions. Yeah, the question from the background that internship program to the business world or industry become a fundamental problem that has not been properly resolved until now. This is the classical question, from time to time. That is, it is cannot not easy to make synchronous, to make relevancy. Number two, the absorption of graduate by needs of the business industry is becoming a serious problem. Vocational college graduate has not been maximally absorbed. So there are many young not get the job as soon as possible. And number three, vocational higher education strategic partnership with business or industry in improving the quality of learning process have also not realized. It is the problem too that it is very fundamental problem that we want to explore what we can do to that solution. And the fourth, industrial internship program is the contact of an independent learning curriculum can be considered an effective approach, even though there are still obstacles and challenges that must be faced. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we have many deep questions. that many questions want to explore by our research. Yes. The first question is, how we can relevancy or obtain through industrial internship program during 1 or 2 semester to our students. It is the because from now in Indonesia is prakerin or internship is only a few months, but from the curriculum, independent curriculum policy, it can be, or can my student can practice in the industry 1 until 2 semester or 1 year. Second question, what is the synchronization strategy to make the industrial internship program implementation has a real impact? Yes, from before, because a student practice for industrial internship only 1 until 2 months or 45 days, it is very short. We can measure the impact. What the impact, it is not easy. And the third question, what is the evaluation model that can measure the impact of the industrial internship program? Yes, because until now, we have not the evaluation model standard. So we cannot evaluate the student after they come back from the industry. It is not easy. So until now, this is a very difficult to measure. So we have to need evaluation model. It can be constructed by industry, community, and university. And the fourth question, how is the government supports? This is a very important question, because until now, this we have a government supports, but maybe until now this not very maximum. So for the tomorrow, we hope the government support is very important and we need. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, next to the next slide. We have many findings from the internship program. So the first, after the student come back from the industrial internship, they get cultivating the working culture of industry, our business, service, and production. Next, they can creating soft skill. Yeah, that Professor Phusavat say many soft skills. And so we have many soft skill finding from the after the student come back, like independency, cooperation, creativity, initiative, sportsmanship, and so on. Many. Then we write like 10 soft skill. And point C, after they come back from the industry, they can increasing the competency of student field of study. So it is a benefit for students that they can get more experience from the industry. So because if they only learn from campus, I think it is not easy to get a field of study. So they can practice the theoretical and they can get the verification from the field study. And point D, they can take the understanding the management of working environment. It is very important because when they come back to or pass from university, will back to the work, they can understand they more know about understanding the management of working environment, and this is a very important for a student having like skill like that. And point E, they can verify the theoretical concept into a real practice. Many students who can I interview that they said that verifying theoretical concept into real practice is very nice, and they can improving the knowledge, improving the technology, improving the skill, and they come back to the campus. There is it can be inspiration to make to write the thesis, like small research. Number point if improving the self-actualization skill. Yeah, it is humanity skill. Yeah, so after they come back, they can improving or they can build the self-actualization, because when they only in the campus learning, it is not easy to get self-actualization. But if they practice in the industrial internship, they can do like this. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, for the synchronous strategies, we have find many points. That number one, writing the syllabus or guideline for the industrial internship program has to be done together with the partnership institution, because right now the program not right by partner, yeah. So university and industry, they have no joint to writing the syllabus or guideline for industrial internship. So it is not easy to get effectively. Number two, equating perception and expectation between the vocational higher education and the world of business industry. So it is we have to synchronizing the expectation from the board of university and industry. Number three, dividing the mentoring task between lecturer and practice supervision. So until now, we have not good regulation, how to divide the mentoring, how to divide the task between a lecturer as a supervisor and industrial person as supervisor too. So they have to meet and talking together to divide the task between lecturer and practice supervisor. Number four, mapping the component compatibility of the course material with the world of business or industry. So we have to do the mapping, because we can find the really problem. We can find the object from university and from the industry. It is for the synchronous. There are four finding. And ladies and gentlemen, for the process stage and process evaluation, yeah, we find the research find the evaluation of the industrial internship program implementation need to be balanced between the supervisory lecturers and field assistant in equitable manner. It is a fundamental finding that evaluation is need to be balanced between the supervisor. Number two, the weightage of industrial work practice component needs to be constructed together. So until now, it is not easy. So, from my interview, that it practical, industrial is they want to make they will give contribution how to make the component from the evaluation. And number 3, the task division to provide assessment needs to be mutually agreed between lecturer and field assistant. This is a task division is a provide assessment need, and from my feeling that is it is make the program will be run effectively. The evaluation model that can be applied goal-oriented evaluation. So it is different from evaluation in the classroom. It is different evaluation in the laboratory or in the workshop. And for the internship program, we have to design model a goal-oriented evaluation. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, how to the government supporting for the program? Yeah, I think it is commitment from the government. We hope, yeah. So until now, the government have might be not totally, but small supporting. So the partnership program between vocational higher education and the business or industrial world need to be supported by the central and local government, which can be manifested in the following program. Yeah, we can explore the many points from the industrial community. Like number 1, giving appreciation for industry players who are committed to the vocational higher education development program. Number 2, providing easy of regulation or tax reduction. So from the Directorate General of Vocational Education, I think from now they have a program to give many appreciation for industry. And last time maybe government have a regulation for the tax reduction, but until now the implementation is not easy. And the last, giving appreciation to appropriate field facilitators. So I think we as a university maybe for the next time have to giving appreciation for the person from industry who give good facilitator or good mentor, good supervisor, so they have they can get appreciation from us. Okay. We can see the industrial expectation and academic expectation. We divide from the top until below. That is many. You can see. I can read, from the academic expectation and the top from the industrial expectation. Like so. This is a formula for the research together might be for teaching together, like development skill manpower. Yeah, you might be the industrial hub expectation, have expectation to our university how to develop the skill manpower over there. And in academic expectation to the community of industrial. Like placement, equal partnership, and there are many funding infrastructure for supporting the university. Okay, we have a formula like this. We can say mention the lysis spiral triple helix model. This is the networking, and from this intersection, we can see the hybrid organization. They are together networking from academia, from state or government, and from industry. And the middle, there are many interactions. Then we can say that is hybrid organizations for supporting the intensive industry program. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with the conclusion from our research that the synchronization of industrial intensive program in vocational higher education based on independent learning curriculum must be designed together. Second conclusion, the steps that can be done together are from the appropriate learning design to evaluation. So I think it is separate design from industry, and this is from university. Might be the program cannot be effectively and cannot measure the real impact. And the third, a coordinated program will impact the achievement and objective of the implementation of industrial intensive program based on independent learning and curriculum. So there are three conclusions we can get from our research, and this is the last. Bu Adi, thank you very much. Terima kasih, and I think back to you the time. Thank you, Bu Adi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks, Dr. Eko, for your very nice presentation. Okay, we are going to the next session of question and answer. The first question for Professor Kongkiti Phusavat.
Yes.
Question from Uswatu Hasanah: how to verify the eligibility of industry to be chosen as a partner of industrial internship?
I think there are a few ways. This is what we have been doing with the work integrated training and learning program. First of all, the company have to be willing. It's not only like to have students to come and work in the basic things, but the company has to be willing to provide resources, and resources, I mean, manpower, not only to supervise students, but also to be a mentor. I think this is a very critical part. The companies have to be willing. It's not like you bring students to work, cheaply. It's not a cheap labor. But the work integrated training and learning program, I mean, the company has to commit to students' career and the future. So they have to provide resources in terms of, mentoring, coaching, on top of training and teaching. Secondly, the companies also have to provide safety, and it's not only like, physical safety, but also psychological safety, because the students are isolated. And they're there by themselves, and often university have not engaged with them. That's why psychological safety of students is very important. To make sure that you build confidence, they can speak up. And the company also has to work well with us. So for me, the criteria is the company has to work with us in terms of lesson plan development, because work integrated training program is about individual lesson plan development. So I think there are a few criteria: the willingness of the companies, you cover safety, resources, the ability to work with us, and more importantly, we also need to be able to engage with companies. We have seen many programs in Thailand that have not succeeded because of vocational university or higher education institute could not engage with the company. When you sign a contract, and that's about it. And I think so. These are the criteria. It's mainly you have to work out for the best of the students. So you have to look at the student in the middle and ask the companies and ask ourselves, what can we do to prepare them to be a human capital in the future?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Means that there should be a regulation to force company to be willing to accept the student to have industrial internship in the company, right?
I don't believe so much in regulation. You have to convince, because this is in Thailand. The company is going to have a difficulty recruiting recruiting the new graduate. So the best way, so the many companies in Thailand, especially large company, see this as a recruitment tool. So by using work integrated training and learning program, they can recruit students, they can train students, and most likely when students finish this program, they graduate and then will be automatically work for this company. So for me, then you got to convince the company that you have a benefit, because once you put a lot of regulations, that it's difficult to have commitment. So the commitments, in my opinion, mean that the university will also benefit because we are transforming ourselves. And secondly, the company also have to see the benefit. So regulation may help, but I think commitment and convincing arguments is very important. That's why university also have to do follow-up research. What happened to the student, how successful they are. So you have to use that research to convince other company. And I think this is why work integrated training and learning program in Thailand has been ongoing for the past 10 years. And more companies would like to join because they see that as the best recruitment tool. And you don't have to do training because you already know the students. You already groom them to be the future workforce, our human capital in an organization. And for the past 10 years, you have seen students from this program have moved up from entry level to the middle to upper middle management.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Next question. It is believed that link and match is very helpful in determining student success. Unlike in Germany and Japan, which have advanced vocational education, there are rarely industries that are totally willing to cooperate, both from human resources development, such as training for staff, placing apprentice students who are appropriate, both in terms of duration and sharing of information about the latest technology, and assistance with the latest equipment. It is therefore the graduate competence is still questionable. Maximum suffice from the industry might need the collaboration of Ministry of Industry and Ministry of Education, which will take a long time. What strategic steps need to be carried out to have good agreement between educational institution and industry? Those educational institutions can get special facilities from the industry in preparing student competency. Actually, I think it's similar to the previous questions, Prof.
What was the questions? Can you repeat at the beginning? I think this question to me or to...
Yeah, to you.
Okay.
What strategic steps need to be carried out to have good agreement between educational institution and industry?
Okay. For me, then for us, it start from orientations. I think that for the strategic step that we can take is we need to look at the way we provide orientation to students, the way we communicate with students. I think this is a very important part. Because when students came to university, especially with work integrated training and learning program, they can be 16 years old or 18 years old. So you are asking the student a lot, okay? Because in Thailand, the student, they stay at home with the parents, and all of a sudden they have to go and work for 4 days. Okay, because normally work integrated training and learning program in Thailand, you have Monday to Friday morning. And then you spend 1 or 1.5 days at the university. So, for me, then orientation and preparation and communication with student is a very important step because you are asking the student to be mature so quickly. And often they're not ready. And that's why the second step and the second strategic preparation is to engage with the students. Because we have to engage with the students. And we also need to recognize the learning diversity among our students. Because when you have 16 or 18 years old, they have to be careful. I think this is many cases in Thailand. Students are quite successful. The problem is when they receive money, because of, you work and you get paid, they spend all the money. So instead of saving, they spend all money, and sometimes they spend more than they earn. So they end up having a debt, even though this is not supposed to happen. But student, the maturity of life is very limited because of the way the parenthood in Thailand. I'm sure Indonesia, you want the student to become more independent, but I think this is the major concern for me. To work with a company, we also have to provide confidence to the company that the students are going to be mature and prepared. And I think this is our job that we have to train. So for me, I would look at the two, at least two actions. Orientation, preparation, communication is one, and engagement with the student, that's another one. So that, they become more mature. Because the maturity for us, based on many survey study, for us, the maturity of students become the very big concern of the company.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Next question. The implementation of independent campus learning curriculum is just stated in 8 forms of activities. Among the activities is industrial internship with a weight of 20 credits. Please advise how we should prepare so that this program will be effective and give positive and significant impacts on students.
Is that the question to me?
Yeah, still.
Okay. I think that this is what has been happening in Thailand, and we also adapt a lot from Japanese and the German, especially I'm sure in Indonesia. I think that German and Japanese are pretty the model for work integrated training and learning program. And first of all, you have to look at that 20 credit or whatever the credit, but you have to look at in terms of the curriculum. You have to have the more flexible curriculum. Okay, I think this is the first thing, and I'm not quite sure how strictly audit and manage the curriculums in Indonesia, but in Thailand, vocational education tend to be less rigid. Okay, because we also have vocational education for commerce, for service industry. We also have the vocational education for manufacturing industry and work integrated training and learning program. They cover service industry, manufacturing industry, even agriculture industry. So for me, then I think we have flexible curriculum and we integrate the training into part of learning. So for me, in Thailand, we are fortunate that we are adapting to the Japanese and German practices, and they count training as part of learning. And I think, as long as you can convince people, the stakeholder, especially in the government, that the knowledge, the skills that students learn from training is equivalent to learning, I think it should be acceptable. And this is what the role of research is. For us, because we depend on Japanese investment, that's why our government react positively. But I know that some country, you need to have the research to show that, what you want from the student from training is even better, or at least equivalent to what we can provide at the university. Normally, there's a lack of trust. The parents say, hey, you learn from the company. How do you know that it's going to be as good knowledge? I think this is part of the study and the communication. And luckily in Thailand, the Chamber of Commerce really pushed for that. And that's why in Thailand, the public opinions tend to trust private sector more than public sector. So when the private sector say that this is a good program, the students learn more, they get more preparation, they become more, productive, then I think, pretty much public opinions, really go for more flexible curriculum. So I think this is what has happened in Thailand.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Next question is still for Prof. Kongkiti. What do you think? how to overcome the gap between school and industry, as the facilities in the university, in school, couldn't be suited to that of in industries?
If you talk about vocational education alone, in Thailand, we already forget about catching up with the industry. And the reason is that no way we can catch up with the industry. Industry moves so quickly. So investment, with the public sector, I'm sure Indonesia is very bureaucratic structure. So it's impossible to keep track of the industrial development. And this is what makes work integrated training and learning programs so attractive, is that we take advantage of existing investments by the private sector. And then we try to make sure students learn up-to-date skills in order to work. So, and this is the reason why vocational school in Thailand or university or colleges have to change the role. We no longer provide technical skill to students, because technical skill can be learned in the company by the students. Our job is to prepare other skills that the student will need. And I think it has been a very difficult experience in Thailand, especially among vocational teacher and instructor, because they're not trained to provide soft skills. And that's why for the past 10 years, a lot of vocational institutes in Thailand undergo major changes. And then they perceive themselves that, technical skill, hard skill can be learned in the company. But our job is to prepare students for soft skills. And I think this is what vocational education in Thailand has been reformed. But for higher educations, it's a different mindset. For higher education, it's different, because no way we can catch up with the company's equipment. That's why we have to identify the niche, what we are good at and what we expect to be good at, and we focus on that exclusive, area that we want to be good at, because we cannot be good at everything. It's not enough budget, and there will not be enough students, especially in Thailand. We are having a decline populations. And unlike Indonesia, I'm sure that population is still, student population is still growing. In Thailand, student population is decreasing. We have less students each year coming to the higher education, on average about 300,000 students. Now there are more seats available than the students. So we cannot be good in everything. But for vocational education, for the past 10 years, our mindset is we will not be able to provide the technical skills. Everything should be learned from the companies.
Okay, so thanks. So what I can get is this is the beneficial of the industrial internship is to implement what student got from the university, right? Okay, so next question is for Dr. Eko. From the various factors mentioned before, everything has been done, but the obstacle is how to improve skills and activities in this pandemic season, where everything is done by online. The teacher treatment is very important, even though there is a lot of technological assistance nowadays.
Okay. Thank you, Buadi, and thank you for the question. Yeah, good question. Yes, it is our problem now, how to improve the competency in the pandemic situation. Yeah, it is not easy. Yeah, but we try to improve our student competency. We can do the teaching by the synchronous or asynchronous or the combination. So you can call your student one by one by online. You can get the many competency from that. But yeah, it is a limitation. I think it is like the one solution for how to improve the competency by the online teaching. Yeah, but it is not easy. Yeah, if if we want to measure the hard skill competency from the vocational education, not like from the theoretical, it is might be not more difficult, but for the vocational hard skill, it is not easy for vocational education. So I think you can call the student, you can teach student come to your laboratory, but it is a limitation, because we have to implementation the protocol of healthy, because in the corona pandemic it is very, very dangerous. This is my answer, Bu Adi. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Eko, for your answer. We go to the next question is for Dr. Eko. What do you think about the compatibility of the course materials to the industrial needs?
Yes. Yeah, for the industrial needs, I think we can discuss together. What the component, because from the industrial they know the many element, many component, what the student need, how to improve like the attitude in the industrial environment, how to improve the network together, and how to improve the the manage the working. I think it's we need between academy or university and between the industrial community talking together what the component we need. From my short research, we cannot explore more deep because it is short, but maybe in this year I would like to deep or to continue my last research what the component. So from the component we can synchronizing the necessary the necessity from the other institution, from the institution, yes, for the partnership. Thank you, Bu Adi.
Thanks, Dr. Eko. The last questions given to Prof. Kongkiti and Dr. Eko. The industrial world wants competent resources which are easily adapted to their jobs. Meanwhile, the world of education creates more resources that are equipped with a lot of knowledge, even though not all of them are used in the work environment. No wonder if this encourages the industry to create trainings, even separate universities that are suitable for their work environment, so that they will create their own resources without taking graduates from universities or vocational education. Of course, people will take a more promising study of job opportunities. Do you think is it worth anticipating? As far as your experience and technically, what kind of mutualism scheme between industry and education is appropriate to run? Are there any real inspiration examples that can be mentioned?
Yeah, for Prof.
For both Prof. Kongkiti and Dr. Eko.
Okay. Please, Prof. Kongkiti, you first.
First of all, I think corporate university has existed, in many countries. In Thailand, we also have a corporate university, just like in the U.S. Okay, in the U.S., GM, General Motors, also has its own university. Okay, many countries, even McDonald's has its own university. Okay, so corporate university is not new. Okay, because if you have large group and you want specific, skills, then sometimes you look at education. Even 7-Eleven in Thailand. Okay, because 7-Eleven in Thailand also have a market share in the southern part of China, Vietnam, and a few other countries. The City Group, which owns 7-Eleven, also have set up the university. We don't call 7-Eleven University, but we call Panya Piwat University. So for me, corporate university is not new, but we should not look at the corporate university as a threat, but we should look at corporate university as something that can complement what we do, okay? Because corporate universities, they have a specific goals and objective. So for me, it's not something that we focus so much, because corporate university is mainly they feel like they can do a better job in training students. So for me, then the role of us, if you want to learn from that is, we also have to work with the industry. Not all companies can offer the higher education degree. You need to have a certain requirements to do that. In Thailand, you have to have land, you have to have staff, you have to have capital. That's why a lot of large companies in Thailand, they decided not to have, they decided not to establish the corporate university. In Thailand, we have 3 or 4 corporate university. Dusit College, that's another example on top of the 7-Eleven. Okay, so in Thailand, we have only 3 or 4. Toyota is thinking, but I don't think they would go for it. So Pitori Matori of Thailand also set up its own university. Okay, so we have 3 corporate universities dedicated for the product and services from that company. The rest of them, they don't have. And that's why there's an opportunity for us to engage with the industry. So we have to offer ourselves. And don't forget, industry today, they also don't think that we can provide technical skills to students. So if we cannot provide technical skills to students, what else can we do? Higher cognitive skills, social emotional skills. This is what we can prepare for students. And for me, I think this is to answer it in a short way. Then for me, I think this is something that we have to explore further. Because in Thailand, I think many universities agree that we can no longer provide technical skills to students sufficient to the market demand. The market demands more, and the skills that they want for technical skills change so rapidly. We just cannot keep up. But soft skill, social emotional skills, high cognitive skill is something that we can plan and prepare to our students. So I think to answer in from the Thai perspective.
Okay, thanks, Prof. How about you, Dr. Eko?
Okay, thank you, Bu Adi. This good question, from participant. How to make the mutual networking from education and industry? We have a point many, but we want to mention here only the fundamental mention. Number 1, it is important to make a relevancy curriculum, and if we want to build the relevancy curriculum, it is must be talking together. So if we want that our curriculum synchron or relevant with the industrial needs, so the university cannot separate from them, but we have to together building the relevancy curriculum. Number 2, the educational institution and the industrial institution maybe can sharing knowledge together or sharing facility, because many university or in vocational education, senior, junior vocational education, they have a good facility, good laboratory, and they can use the industry can use the facility, and maybe university or SMK, maybe a vocational high school, can use the facility from the industry, or it is we can say the sharing facility. And the third, industry may be as Bapak Angkat, who that is what is in English, the Bapak Angkat is like sponsor maybe, this is Bapak Angkat is more important for supporting the running of educational vocational education. And the last, industry be partnered to be like production, like to be partner, to be marketing, to be so. If the university or like senior vocational, senior high school make like production like a thing, so the industry can receive the production from there and supporting, helping the marketing production from university library to production to marketing to the public. This is for the mutual. Thank you, Bu Adi.
Thanks, Dr. for your explanation. The last question given to Dr. Eko. Please explain further about the synchronization of vocational school with the business world, which is included in the learning tool syllabus.
Oh yes, good. Yeah, this is our homework. Yeah, thank you for the question. This is for the synchronization. Might be until now not yet running well because many obstacles. But we try in this year because the Directorate General of Vocational Education launching many public policy that we can base from this policy. That many policies benefit for education and for industry. So step by step for the synchronization or like internship program, I think many industry, there are many various factors, and many university there have unique factors too, many unique variable. Based on this policy, we want to together thinking about that. Thank you, Bu Adi.
Thank you, Dr. Eko. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our Q&A session. What I can conclude for this session is it's a challenge for us as an educators to change passive learners to be active learners. And based on the Professor Phusavat slide that based on the 70-20-10 model, we should provide more experience and exposure to students. University has their responsibility of good networking and communication with industries that they can send the students for industrial internship to improve the competency of the students. Industrial internship students perform practical work nearby the area. This become more efficient because the company can minimize costs. The suitability of the given program can synergize with industry needs. If the link and match program runs well, there will be no more gap between education graduates and the need for labor. The development of teaching materials can be adjusted to the development needs of the industry. Okay, Professor Phusavat and Dr. Eko, we thank you for your speech today. We expect further collaboration with both of you in the future. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Kongkiti from Semarang. Thank you for joining us in the conference. We appreciate your upcoming presentation. I hope we can meet directly at our campus in Semarang or Bangkok. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Pak Din. Pak Nur.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Pak Eko.
Thank you, Prof. Phusavat. Thank you, Bu Adi. See you.
Thank you very much, Profesor Dr. Kongkiti Phusavat, Profesor Dr. Ting, Dr. Elin Eliana Abdul Rahim, Dr. Eko Supraptono, Dr. Deni Hidayat Aljanan Ek, Dr. Adi Kusumastuti. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last presentation of the keynote speakers. Next, we are going to have break time, then continue to the parallel session. During the break time, you are not allowed to leave the Zoom room. We are going to break down the presenters into 4 rooms as scheduled. Make sure you have required Zoom account name. Thank you. See you on the closing event. Kepada Bapak dan Ibu presenter sekalian, selama waktu istirahat, kami mohon untuk tidak meninggalkan ruang Zoom atau meeting room. Kami akan membagi presenter menjadi 4 ruangan atau room sesuai dengan jadwal. Silakan klik join ketika muncul notifikasi untuk masuk ke ruangan atau room masing-masing. Kami himbau untuk dapat memastikan nama akun Zoom Bapak dan Ibu sekalian sudah sesuai dengan petunjuk yang diberikan panitia. Dan kami mohon tidak meninggalkan ruang Zoom atau meeting room usai sesi paralel hingga acara penutupan nanti. Terima kasih.